sound of love, the kiss on your lips, it should be mine. The people you meet, the people you trust, the people you find. That's the difference, baby, between you and me. That's the difference, baby, between you and me. Sky high in better times, when love was hard to find. Sky high in better times, with my mind Valentine. Sky high in harder times, when love, my friend, was blind. Sky high in harder times, with my mind Valentine.
Come on, I can see it perfectly. What the hell?
You keep racing down that hill, but you never fall. That's the difference, baby, between you and me.
It's 0023.
That's the difference, baby, between your right and mine.
A clock.
Sky high in better times, with my blind Valentine. Sky high in harder times, with love, my friend, was mine. Sky high in harder times, when love was hard to find.
T.O. Towers!
In better times, when trust in love was
Central
blind.
Ontario,
In better times, with my
#1 rated, most hated.
What up, the Cali Geek? Yanni Metapoker. My SCF motherfuckers. My TAFGs. Taking it dope. What? Coming out the wrong for the city, in the city, it's a pity. My boys say Whitney was always by my side when we ride
Check
to
those
the
out.
other side, headed to the south so we can get some more drink.
Bernie Madoff died. That white girl cop got charged like instantly. How long did it take them to charge Chauvin? And half these cops never get charged. Oh, it's a woman. They'll nail it. They'll nail her because it's a woman. Yeah, these pussies always had damn women. And that third one, that's a little fucked up.
If you understood, it would make you smile. If you participated, it would make us proud. I miss my hip hop brothers, I'ma say it loud. Yeah, I'ma say it loud.
De décourager la contamination en chaîne. Vous avez les savons, vous avez l'eau qui jaillit automatiquement, vous pouvez sécher les mains. Et une autre particularité, vous avez des thermoflash. Et Donc pendant que vous êtes en train de
Now,
vous laver les
why didn't
mains,
I add the?
on vous prélève la température.
I thought I added the
Alors,
Congolese national anthem to this
ces
playlist.
dispositifs, au-delà de ces
Only
lave-mains,
90 seconds long.
viennent
That's
depuis mis à la
85
disposition
seconds or something.
de ces programmes de lutte contre cette pandémie une cellule de maintenance des équipements, tous les équipements médicaux qui sont utilisés pour la prise en charge des malades, et ce service est gratuit.
This is about automatic hand washers. Again, we've had those since the 90s. No, I want to do it the old-fashioned way. It's not the fucking one.
Hunger driving my motivation, no tolerance, running short of patience.
You don't have enough water to go around.
That's the shit that got me dreaming robberies when pops left it with the block that fathered me. Got a problem, load the weapon, that's how you solve it, that's what it taught to me. And it's how you faced on the bottom me, put me in the direction where the bottom be. Is it just how it's born to be? Some come to this world with diamonds and pearls, some come to poverty. With no one to teach us right and wrong, how could you say that we wrong? This is all we know, so gotta be right. Or maybe it's left, but it's all we got left. Not to love until my last breath. Truly, peace and love to the ones that knew me and fuck the rest. I mean it, and she know. But I walk up this door, it might be for the last time. They say the stars burn the brightest right before they die. That's why I tell her I love her just in case today's my day to shine. Father, forgive me for I sin, and I'm sure I probably sin again. Tell me whose blood is this on my hands, cause I can't remember. And when my neck go, I Leslie in the room. My thugs, pump drugs, dump slugs, grave dug. Nah, you ain't one of us. If you want it, better be ready to kill for it. If you want it, better be ready to kill for it. All my thugs, pump drugs, dump slugs, grave dug. Nah, you ain't one of us. If you want it, better be ready to die for it. If you want it, better be ready to die for it. That early morning hustler shit. Cocaine in the pot, stir it till it's thick. Throw some ice in the mix and shock it. That's how you rock that shit. Now here comes the magic trick. Abracadabra, bitch. The song disappears quick as
What
your
do you
baby
want it
mama's
to be right after he made his first 80 G's?
What would I be without you? I've seen this moment. Yeah. Gang life records, my head, holla it out. Hear the sound as my heart breaks. It's all cold, full of snakes. What you want me to say? Yeah, I should change, but I don't know no other. Yeah. What up? It's drama. Yeah, I'm power tripping with money popped in my collar on that hood shit. Fresh out of jail, straight to the dollars, got a good connect, he never ace. Oh, on a product, hit the block and watch the money rise. Bread in the oven, pockets full of stuffing. Never catch me clubbing, but I show the money, then the hoes come running. We wake up, get the paper like the free press coming. But enough about that. Hold up, let me spit a rap for these assholes. Bang, with a crack flow, cops in the front, and I'm dipping through the back door. Frostbite on my toes, yeah, I'm almost lost those. Running through the snow in my socks, trying to dodge fuck. My jail days was the worst days. Sipping water down juice when you thirsty. Real talk, the 3.5 for them. That's 1,276 mornings when my baby mama was out home telling me stories. They like who your baby daddy is. Better call Maury. Used to roll up at your mama's with a bag full of Tonys and a pocket full of money. Not the kind that she would loan me now. Sickest kid rapping still.
So you know what they're not talking about? Ukraine.
Here, take another pill. Fake rappers acting still.
Or the
I've been on my
Philippines.
A game. Shit never lacked the skill. Real top.
Or Sudan or Ethiopia. Iraq, Afghanistan. They're mentioning Afghanistan, but they're just giving it words.
Yeah, homeboy. Yo. From the same side, where they might walk up, where they might drive by. Yeah, I'm staying high, cause today I might die. My homie doing robberies, trying to feed his kids. Got shot and I don't do shit. I live in a cold moment. Fuck yesterday, tomorrow bringing some pain. Yeah, my other homie, a parole violator. When I seen his PO with his eyes dilated, they locked him up quicker than the secret say. See you later, alligator. Crowd surfing on the back of haters. Tomorrow never comes, tonight is all that matters. I'm staying faded, cause I don't like who I am when I'm sober. Staring in the mirror like, behold, the demon that holds ya. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. I might lose it all, that's the risk I take. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. Turn up the beat, I refuse to fade. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. I might lose it all, that's the risk I take. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. Turn up the beat, I refuse to fade. Yeah, I dream.
Okay, music video concept. We take all these shots from CNN of all these white Toyota pickup trucks rolling around in the desert with all these masked up guys. We don't change none of that, but we're gonna change it to like guitars and synthesizers and pianos. Turntables. You can't see their faces, don't matter who they are, their faces covered up. We don't need to edit that. You ever seen Jack Ruby and whatever the fuck his name was? The R.B. Oswald.
These are the bloodshot eyes of a killer. I put that on my flag. I'm going hard till I'm in that body bag.
And from that generation where you get guys like Gretchen will walk up and strangle you in front of the media and 1,000 people. And nobody sees nothing.
Real robberies. Go the better way. Still this rap shit, help me get away. Something that they can't take away. This shit'll still play, even when I'm in my grave. Yeah, Mr. Fuck the law. Mr. Fist against the jaw. Mr. When I'm done breaking down your door, you get a pistol with for sure. Yeah, I climbed from the gutter. Had to grind for my bread and butter. I'd rather die than let my family suffer. Fucking undercover, eternal slumber. My voice boom, like the god of thunder. From the slips to the keys, you ain't done what I done. You ain't seen what I've seen. I keep me in the streets when I'm serving these fiends. Get a gun loaded. You don't really want to see the bell smoking. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. I might lose it all, that's the risk I take. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. Turn up the beat, I refuse to fade. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake. I might lose it all, that's the risk I take. Yeah, I dream, well I'm wide awake.
By the way, who's a fucking
I refuse to fade. Yeah, I dream to the blocks, bring it back to the faces. Keeping the whole hood on lock with the street combination. Bringing it back to the days when Papa Big made a statement. In the hood ain't nothing changed, struggle daily for the pain. I was raised the place for the product you wage. Just I came up, able to strap big in the page. A hustle talking to strangers, a life of danger. See, simple get to change, just a little with things. Tries to push my limit, I hate you, but love my haters. Foes on the street try to fade us, but never can phase. That nigga fucked in the head, so they label me strange. We're touching human nature, this nature's fucked up. Still lurking the lanes, been like that since I was young. When my girl together we want, she taught me how to use my tongue. About that good shit, I'm high, so my pain is numb. You can find me lost in the mist, and I'm rolling with love. West End, listen, my veins still run through my bloodstreams. All day, gotta survive, for else I gotta feed. All night, creep through the hood, meets in the alley. Focus my raising these blocks, raising these damn streets. Grew up gutter land, came up on the goddess land. Money over everything, could show me the keys to bang. Things getting colder, put the soldier marching in the lane. West End, went to beg, that's where I was raised. Mama told me stay in school, you gotta make your daily grind. Instead of nigga cutting cross investigations by the feds. But mama, I was only 17, posted with a bag. Daddy wasn't there, the guy the streets made me a man. Pray for the Lord to save him, God embracing the hate. Use it for the elevation, instead elevated. My focus heavyweight, but quick when started facing. Nigga, the foes devastated like a brain dead patient.
Hand over the mouth of the witness. I never said I was innocent.
Alright, till they bury me. All that talking on your butt, they scaring me. Keep on pushing me, it's like you carry me. Like I won't pop, 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 pop. Leave them there to bleed. Right, till they bury me. All that talking on your butt, they scaring me. Keep on pushing me, it's like you carry me. Like I won't pop, 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 pop. Leave them there to bleed. Used to skip class, the made cash is the one I never passed. Teacher always talking about something I don't really care about. You see, when I'm done, yeah, gotta go home. And sometimes home ain't the place you wanna go. When the crowd of room, I feel alone. He watched his mother who did die in his arms. And then they wonder why he acts out and causes others harm. It was even betting to get me back then. I was never supposed to be shit. Listen to be locked up or dead. Tell me how am I alive if you aiming for my head? Get the fuck out of here, y'all ain't killing shit. I was born for a greater purpose, and because of that I know I make you nervous. Careful, there's a demon lurking underneath the the surface. I do this in the memory of my dog dead and deceased. Every scar, every tattoo means something to me. Yeah. I'm around till they bury me. All that talking on your breath, they scaring me. Keep on pushing me, it's like you carry me. I got more pop, 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 pop. Leave them there, bleed around till they bury me. All that.
Right, COVID-19. Right. Okay, right.
Going hard to my number call. Trust me, dog. You ain't prepared to do what I'm prepared to do. Work the car. The artillery I got. Ka-ching, got like a chainsaw. Ready to chat. Hands down. Stop. Listen. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Murder in the first degree. Homicide in my crib, harassing me. She just jammed the needle in her arm, now she can't speak. It's a cold world that we live in, take it from me. Yeah, in the end, everything I see and have seen is but a dream within a dream. Long days, cold nights, serving fees. Just the life that we live, just the life that we live, just the life that we live, motherfucker. Just the life that we live, just the life that we live, just the life that we live, motherfucker. Just the life that we live. Just the There ain't no peace, all I see is violence in the streets. Junkies in the alleyway, homie broke us by any means. Random robberies just to feed. Cause yeah, imagine what it's like to be me. It's just the nature of the beast. No warning, we just sink our teeth. We whip the competition apart. Once the gun goes off, make it start. He bled until he passed on. A grown man cry like a hoe. What a sad song. All my soldiers put your flags on. We gon' bang to this song. I keep the strap like an ace in the hat. Yeah, I'd rather get caught with it than with all of where I'm at. Got no time for rats. Get all broken, they can kiss her ass. We don't talk to police, got no respect for the band. That's why I keep the gun and mask right next to the staff. You can't play with it. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. Say you can't play with it. The nature of the beast. The nature of the beast, nature of the beast. Say you can't play, you can't play. Nature of the beast, the nature of the beast. Say the nature of the beast. Say you can't play, you can't play. Nature of the beast, nature of the beast. Yeah, the nature of the beast. I'm jumping on deck with my hand on my tech. Disrespect the mob and get your face in your lap. You claiming you hardcore, but doing bass in the trap. I'm loading my gun up, where the fuck boys at? It's murder, homie. Don't talk shit, get your burner, homie. Chrome on me, and I'm down for the first degree.
Project Moon, blah, 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 including organized crime groups and the Parkdale Crips street gang. And whoever laid this out, I see what you did there. I see what you see. The gun pointed at his head. How many times did you have to take a picture to get it right there? When the graphic designers don't like you.
You can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast. Say you can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. Nature of the beast. Say you can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast. Say the nature of the beast. Say you can't play me. It's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast, yeah, the nature of the beast. You ain't gangster, all you do is talk, you some fat fuck wankster. Stuck up in the bench, you get checked up, wankster. Penetrate your score with my bankster. Banks cut, start to pick the walls when you stay blind. Keep your fucking flags and your chains up, danger. Creeping in the area, you ain't wrong. Touch sweats, take you away from the gates, razor. Aim up at your brain, then we spray slots, raised up. In the good, the legs will be laced up, slam drums, ain't no other way. Homie, can't pick parts of the dark for a bester. Text one, the same thing that I can't cuss straight. Yes, ain't crazy with the brains nuts. Place why I'm fucking with the memory checks. Saw what the block will be made. Watch, cause we gangsters. Walk in you back.
brick. So a brick that costs you several thousand yuan is useless to you unless you spend about 6 yuan to charge it up and make it useful.
I think, well, if you're as much of a cheapskate as He Yang is, just charge your phone whenever you have the cord with you. And you spend this, you save the 6 yuan, and also the trouble of, oh, my phone is dying in juice, and what do I do now? And I need to find a charger or pay for a shared power bank. What I do, I don't know if this is like good tips for anybody.
If we are all careful and responsible human beings,
leave it in the sun all the fucking time anyway when you're not supposed to.
Power banks, shared power banks.
Well,
we will all be responsible for
making
so
for a little while here, you could go to like any laundromat, for example, and there were like 6 cords
and you're going to spend a whole day out there. If we are
and then they came out and said you shouldn't be plugging your phone into those because you don't know what's on the other. You don't know what could be in there. Even if you can see the whole plug, you don't know if it's some sort of spy device.
Oh,
but not everybody does that.
Of course, but you will be amazed with what habits have an effect on you. So my habit is whenever I sit down in the office, or when I'm at home, when I get home, and then immediately, just charge your phone. And also don't charge it overnight when you're asleep. Like try to avoid any kind of accidents or whatnot. But lightning, even for somebody who has this habit, who has gradually cultivated this habit, just so that whenever I'm out of the office or the apartment, then I have a phone with all the blocks of energy in place, and then I feel so good. I feel ready to go out and embrace the world. But sometimes you don't know what life presents to you.
Now remember,
like
her
the
phone
other day,
she can't get a taxi, she can't get on the subway, she can't buy anything.
You've been using a phone that's about what? 3-4 years old.
Oh, here we go. More personal info being given away.
Well, I'm trying to make a point. That is, the longer you use a phone and not replace its battery, they're more likely that it's going to have a problem with the battery. I mean, for 1 minute you might look at it and see there's still 40% left.
That won't be
and the next minute look at it. Oh, it's dead like a brick.
Oh, that's
right.
right.
Expose it to the extreme weather. It's like minus 20 degrees.
In winter time.
Yeah.
So your battery deteriorates over time. So even if you are a careful manager of power within your phone, there's no accounting for when that math fails.
So you can either change the battery or possibly fall in the clutch of
shared power banks.
Or phone developers. There are some reports out there saying that the phones are designed to a particular way that you need to replace your old headset.
It's the same thing that makes the pedometer application
design
work.
obsolescence.
There's a motor in there that vibrates.
Yeah, so
it's the
you could get a new
same
one.
mechanism in reverse would charge your
old
phone.
One? Well, gotta wait for the heart-to-heart segment to find out more about that. But I was gonna get at that. Yes, you don't know what life presents your way. The other day, when I was out doing an event, and unfortunately I had to charge my phone, didn't have my charger with me, and I was so surprised when I asked around the team of people I was with, does anybody have a charger? Could you please lend it to me?
Has one.
And then they were like, go pay for the shared power bank, you want to save up on a few pennies like that? And I got that look. So that's what I did. Peer pressure. And
where I live, I find USB cords in the street all the time. I leave them there.
A chunk of 99 yuan deducted from my account as deposit. And guess what? This company has recently been listed on NASDAQ. Shared Power Bank Company has still not returned my deposit. And I have returned the shared power bank back to the thingy, the box. Returned it? Okay, and here is something that I share with many of the consumers out there. Apparently, difficulty in return is another big problem.
Hey, how do you use those things? You put coins in? How the fuck do you use it? Now, that's a machine that should be coin operated.
You are supposed to be on the lookout for for
maybe
deposit points.
what's the
Well,
one
I mean, there are chances
note that they
are
only use for the
that,
bus? You can use it for that too.
these
No?
deposit points are
No?
already full. I mean, the sockets are already full.
Don't we have $1 bill
Kid, it was
readers
the
here?
same machine.
Right.
What happened there? I don't know.
But this is not your problem. Your problem is not your deposit not getting returned to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you were saying somebody else were complaining they couldn't return their power banks
Just
because
keep
the
it.
sockets were all full.
It's yours now. Fuck it.
Like everything shared. I mean, when we look at shared bikes, we know these companies they take pains to arrange people
What
to
do they call
move
it?
the bicycles around
Toronto.ca.
so that people who needed them will
Toronto.ca.
have
Look for
access to
bicycle pictures.
where they are.
You'll find
Whereas
it. You'll find
some
it.
places don't get overcrowded. Places like to surround the neighborhood of a subway station. So there are services.
Dude, we got them in the middle of
deployed to
fucking
make sure that
nowhere
these
with
power
credit
banks
card
or
readers
these
on them.
shared
and
bikes are
solar
moved
panels
around. But apparently,
cellular
what
transmitters.
this
It's very
consumer is
interesting.
complaining is that maybe these companies haven't done a good job at monitoring the deposit points to allow easy return and easy access.
So, Wang Shen, what do you think that needs to be done just so that customers are happier with the service and this business can thrive in the long term?
I think they should try
You know
to
what you
make
really
the
needed
business
was a
model more
payphone. You
sustainable.
see how
And we
complex
also
this
need
has
to
gotten?
avoid
All you
the
needed was a
cutthroat
payphone.
or the vicious cometition, because earlier
You know, they
reports
work when the power
suggested
goes
that
out.
there's some salesmen from a shared power bank brand. They are trying to destroy and pry the battery from the shared power banks off the other brand in order to compete with each other. And then you will leave for the users, you probably will leave a bad review on their page and probably may choose the other service. So there are certain players in
How do you
this
know that it
industry,
wasn't the
but
actual
I
guys
just
wearing the
expect
other
them
guys'
to offer the better
uniforms?
service, but in a more sustainable and healthier way.
And also, one
Show up to work wearing
observation
your
is that this
competition's
business
uniform
is kind of straightforward.
and abuse
So
all your equipment
using
all
this
day long.
company versus the other is no different
See how many phone calls
for
you get.
users. And is this one of those businesses that simply doesn't really have that much of a sort of differentiating point?
No, we don't need to differentiate them. I mean, whenever you want to use a power bank and there's one nearby, you just go for it. I mean, there's no point in being different from others.
Well, also, if the charge is reasonable, whatever reasonable is in the minds of consumers, and also, get people their deposit back.
Yeah. You're listening to Roundtable. Coming up next,
more
let's have a
billionaires than any
moment
other
of heart
city
to
in the
heart.
world.
You ask.
We answer.
Roundtable, heart to heart.
I am attempting to change this. Like, I almost knew this was coming.
This is the segment on Roundtable when we answer the questions of our listeners and also give you a response to whatever you have to say to Roundtable. So here it goes.
Hi, Roundtable. This is to express my appreciation to all of you. Thanks a lot for accompanying me.
Captain Cook doesn't know how simple he had it. Come on, Android, you can do this.
善窗计划, we receive donations like old iPads from the society and deliver these digital devices to rural schools in underprivileged areas in China. Also, we provide.
Joke was you could always spot the criminals. They were the ones in the police uniforms. The shakedowns were terrible. But it's interesting that now the relationship between Canada and China has gone so far south that even the Trade Commission, which has been,
who else
we
is
have to
taking
say,
by
over
a
the
gun
years,
over the table?
been very enthusiastic
No
in
registration,
promoting the
driving
People's
over the
Republic,
border,
even
use it,
though we've
throw it
run
away,
trade
find it
deficits
next to
with
the body
China
perfectly,
for 25 years.
with no evidence
Now saying,
whatsoever on it.
watch your wallet if you're
They're
doing
smuggling
business
cheese.
in the motherland. It is
Toronto police
really
get caught smuggling cheese.
an organized
Canadian
crime
factory.
state. Whether they're communist or not, organized criminals run that country.
Wow, just adding to the layers and layers and layers of warnings and barricades happening between China and Canada. Now, this is also kind of related.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have
because the
the
track
defense
was gonna
minister
track
saying
away.
he wasn't aware that the People's Liberation Army attended that winter training exercise. It made a lot of headlines. It was in Eastern Ontario 3 years ago. He said he put a stop to the practice following the detention of the two Canadian businessmen in Beijing, of course, the two Michaels, but he said he wasn't aware. We have this defense minister not aware of several things in the last little while.
There was some incredulity. This was Minister Sajjan. It was testimony in the parliamentary committee, Arlene, and as you mentioned, he was asked about this. There were PLA, People's Liberation Army officers that were hosted at Petawawa in Eastern Ontario, up here in the Ottawa Valley, including a major general. The PLA is an agent of genocide, as identified by a unanimous Commons vote in February.
Yeah,
this is
so
not
is the
like
RCMP if you want to point fingers. If you want to frame it the same way, they're no less guilty.
Of the Communist Party of China. And the defense minister said, "No one told me. I was completely unaware. It was news to me." We do know that they plan even more training exercises in Petawawa after the two Michaels were kidnapped, detained, and sent to secret trial on trumped-up espionage charges. Outraged the country. Everyone knows about it. And the only reason they stopped it, Minister Sajjan says, "I was the guy who put a stop to it." We've seen internal emails through access to information. It was the United States. The United States sent emails up and said, well, are you kidding me? What is it about this that Canada doesn't get? Maybe joint training exercises with the People's Liberation Army, agents of genocide, is not a good idea at this particular time. It wasn't a great moment for the Canadian military.
It wasn't. It's not a great answer that I was not aware, especially when you've used that line recently on another contentious issue. Tom Korski, managing editor of Blacklock's Reporter, thank you for joining us. Take care, Tom.
You too, Arlene.
All right, we're going to have a short break and we will return. This is On Point, Global News Radio.
Was this the Nissan Murano or some shit commercial? Volkswagen song? I was smoking a lot of weed and drinking with people at grow houses and garages in the West End, setting bags of shake on fire. All sorts of things were happening when that song came on. But that played fucking everywhere, out of every car, out of every TV set. And we were watching Life is Hot in Cracktown. And I still lived in Greenwood and Danforth.
我要学汉语. I want to learn Chinese.
其实
For us who are passionate about doing charities, we don't
give testimonies. The UK.
So in a 2-block stretch, in order, there's a beer store, my apartment building, liquor store, literally to the right or the left. You can make your choice, beer store, liquor store, or walk right by. You didn't have to leave. You didn't have to step on public property to get to the store. Beer store, my building, liquor store, daycare, another apartment building. It's architecturally the twin of our building, but it was subsidized type, some sort of supportive housing. Church, On the next corner, off-track betting, halal type grocery, halal pizza, yeah, off-track betting, mosque, rehab, 7-Eleven, and across the right there would be the subway station. That's before you get to Jones. It's a 2-block stretch. I'm not fucking joking. There's rehab upstairs from the 7-Eleven. That's genius.
Means file.
文件
Gui is short for 柜子, which means cabinet.
And if you wander the other way, there's the off-track betting.
Filing
It's not
cabinet.
drugs,
文件柜
right?
Yeah, I didn't catch the Chinese for printer. Could you please remind me of that again?
Sure, it's 打印机.
打印机
打印
We're never going
means
to need
to
a printer
print.
again in our lives.
Measures don't work. It's time to make vaccines available to all educators and frontline workers. Schools won't be safe until transmission is under control. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario.
COVID transmission keeps slipping out
Just missed the top of the hour news? Get caught up in less than 60 seconds. Just add the flash briefing skill to Alexa, then set it to play 640 Toronto. And don't forget, you can listen to us live anytime by telling it.
I think you just did.
No matter where you are at this time tomorrow, you can still hear the show.
Change these
If
things
you aren't by your
names.
radio, ask your smart speaker to play NPR
When I
or
buy
a
it,
local
it's called
station by
Alexa.
name.
Why can't I change it to something else?
And you are listening to All Things
Watson.
Considered from NPR News.
Oh,
Support for NPR comes from this station
BBC, we're-
and from Atlassian, makers of collaborative.
NOAA, weather, nothing. BBC World Service, nothing. Oh, wait for it. Voice of South China Sea. Oh, that's interesting.
他们是把名字写在大海上的人，《史记·航海家列传》之亨利儿子。一个从未扬帆远航的人，能被称为航海家吗？15世纪初，葡萄牙南部的萨格利什出现了一所航海学校。世界各地的海员、天文学家、地图测绘员、制造航海仪器的工匠们慕名而来。他们为远洋航行精心准备着，目标直指未知的非洲和美丽的东方。背后的金主和领导者正是葡萄牙王子亨利。在亨利的眼中，远洋航行意味着取之不尽的资源、无限可能的商机和对异教徒的讨伐。他们一次接一次地出海远航，最终抵达了非洲西海岸的博哈多尔海角，打破了黑暗之海无法征服的神话，为地理大发现后来的探险提振了信心。1460年，亨利死后，他的船队抵达了塞拉利昂，成功的航海激发了新一批的葡萄牙航海家向南航行，寻找前往东方的航线。尽管亨利不是一个出色的水手，但他组织了一次又一次远航探险，无愧于新航路开辟时代的伟大先驱。唯有探索，才有答案。南海之声。
与音乐拥抱的生活，你值得拥有。您即将收听到的是《南海优生活》。中国国际广播电台
The Voice of South China Sea from China Radio International. 唯有它。
Live broadcast transmitted 7
My
a.m.
Chinese
Beijing
isn't good
time.
enough to know anything she just said, but I know there's some important there, and I know automatic translator can figure that out later.
Information brought to you every weekday.
Something going on there. You can tell the way she's talking.
April 15th, 2021.
That's
You're
not the
listening to the
normal
Beijing
shit they
Hour,
were playing
live
3,
from the
6 months
Chinese
ago.
capital. On today's program, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry is in China for talks in Shanghai. They're ongoing until Saturday. European countries are increasingly ordering local agricultural products from Xinjiang.
去年我们的所有的地
Our orders amounted to less than 70 tons of products last year. After the China-Europe Agreement on Geographical Indications came into force in March, orders from the Chinese mainland and foreign countries increased significantly.
The European Medicines Agency says it'll soon issue a ruling on use of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. In business, rising prices in China. In sports, the semifinals of the UEFA Champions League. In culture and entertainment, a celebration of traditional Chinese clothing. Now today's top stories. U.S. Special Presidential Envoy John Kerry is visiting China, and he'll hold talks with his Chinese counterpart Xie Zhenhua in Shanghai. A statement from the Chinese Foreign Ministry says the two sides are expected to exchange views on climate change cooperation, as well as the 2021 UN Climate Change Conference, which will be held in Glasgow this November. John Kerry's visit in China will last until Saturday. Climate change official Li Gao with the Chinese Ministry of Ecology and Environment says reducing carbon emissions is key to the country's development.
Yeah, but they're talking about switching off from coal.
Achieving the new
They're
carbon
not
peak goal
talking
and
like
carbon neutral vision is tracking more than 1,100 different outbreaks. And this week, the number of patients hospitalized with the virus is expected to break records not seen since the start of the pandemic. While public health officials warn about broad community spread, Governor Gretchen Whitmer has no plan to order a lockdown.
Vaccine shipment contained the amount of vaccine required to operate our city-operated clinics for the next 7 days.
The next shipment of Pfizer is scheduled to arrive Monday afternoon, and Beck says there's no indication there's any issues with it. Public Health has compiled a list of over 1,200 locations for pop-up and mobile clinics in hotspots, and work is already underway for close to 240 locations on the list subject to vaccine supply. I'm Phil Martino.
The premier also facing questions about canceled vaccine appointments. 680's Richard Southern brings us the latest.
Hotspot regions like Scarborough have been forced to cancel a lot of vaccine appointments. Premier Ford, though, contends the region simply overbooked, banking on the supply of vaccine being there.
They were hoping it would come in, so I don't blame them for overbooking 10,000 appointments. I don't blame York for doing that as well. We were expecting the shipments to come in.
But there are doses in the freezer in Ontario right now, and Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca contends they should be redirected to places like Scarborough.
Is there a hiccup in supply for a couple of days with Moderna? Obviously, yes. Does that actually negate the fact that there are over 1 million doses of the vaccines sitting in freezers in the GTA and across Ontario this very moment? No, it doesn't take that away.
I'm Richard Southern.
680 News Time 9:04. Toronto's top doctor trying to set the record straight when it comes to concerns about vaccines. 680's Madison Fitzpatrick joins us live with more on this story. Madison. Yeah, Caitlin, Toronto's top doctor says there are some very unqualified vaccine skeptics sowing fear and misinformation through social media. Weighing in on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine blood clot risk, Dr. Eileen DeVilla says it's extremely rare, and she's trying to put it into perspective.
The chance of drowning in the bath in the next year is calculated at 1 in 685,000. The current estimated risk from blood clots associated with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is 1 in 1 million.
So if you are looking for information,
So why do they keep saying 4 in 1 million?
Such as Facebook, there's the coronavirus.
Why are they saying 4 in a million if she said 1 in a million? No, see, that's what I'm talking about. So now, so if I said what I said to that, that would sound stupid, yeah. But they said 4 in a million.
Madison Fitzpatrick. Our 7-day average of new COVID-19 cases in Ontario has reached a new high, as well as hospitalizations and those put into intensive care. 680's Irene Precklett has the latest breakdown.
4,156 new cases of COVID-19 today, which brings the 7-day average above 4,000 for the first time ever. Another record set for hospitalizations at 1,877. 642 of those people in the ICU, also a record. The city of Brampton had its weekly COVID-19 update today. Peel's top doctor, Dr. Lawrence Lowe, says area hospitals are bracing for disaster. The calls are out for healthcare providers who are available.
This wave is different. Our current situation is incredibly dire. We must decisively act to save lives and to allow our vaccine coverage to succeed and grow.
Almost 113,000 vaccinations were given across the province in a single day. That is a one-day record. It comes, though, as some appointments are postponed because of a lack of supply. I'm Irene Precklett.
680 News Time 9:06. Health Canada not changing its approval of the AstraZeneca vaccine as it confirms the shot may be linked to extremely rare blood clots, saying it's still safe.
The AstraZeneca vaccine continues to be safe. That's Dr. Supriya Sharma with Health Canada as the regulator provides a safety update on the AstraZeneca vaccine. It's now acknowledging there may be a link to extremely rare blood clots, and it's updating the warning label, but officials stress the benefits far outweigh the risks. Dr. Sharma says the chances of getting a clot from this vaccine are 4 in a million, while the chances of getting a clot while being hospitalized with COVID-19 are 1 in 5.
The risk of clots
1 in a
with
million,
COVID is
4 in a
much,
million.
much higher than with other things that we talk about in terms of benefits and risks. And it's much higher than having this very, very severe clot.
The National Advisory Committee
Dante's mother, Katie, at a vigil focus on Monday night.
My heart is literally broken in 1,000 pieces, and I don't know what to do with this pain. But I just need everybody to know that he is much more than this.
In his freshman year at Thomas Edison High School in Northeast Minneapolis, Dante Wright was voted the class clown, according to a school yearbook. A mentor at the school recalls Dante as fun, lively, the center of attention, and having a welcoming personality. He says Wright had a bright future. He later attended Patrick Henry High School in Minneapolis, but did not graduate. Family and friends said he had hoped to earn a GED. Wright's cousin, Mario Greer.
I didn't get the chance to tell my cousin I love him, but I'm telling him I love him now.
Greer says he can't imagine spending holidays without Dante.
The 4th of July, that's our favorite holiday together. We like to shoot rum cannons at each other. We're not going to be able to do that no more. I love you, Dante.
Wright leaves behind a 2-year-old son, Dante Wright Jr. The child's mother, China Whitaker, was no longer seeing Wright, but she says his death leaves a huge void in her son's life.
And I just feel like that's so wrong because now my son, he don't have a dad. And I'm just so messed up about it because, like, I feel like they stole my son's dad from him.
Dante Wright was driving in a Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center Sunday afternoon. Officers stopped him just before 2 o'clock because he had expired tags on his license plates. Once pulled over, officers discovered Wright was wanted on an outstanding warrant for failing to appear in court on misdemeanor charges of possessing a handgun without a permit and fleeing police. His mother, Katie Wright, says Dante called her from the car sounding nervous and scared. And what followed, she says, were the worst moments of her life.
Dante put the phone down. I heard some scuffling. He got out of the car, and I could hear the police officers and scuffling with him.
Body cam video shows that as officers got him out of the car and tried to handcuff him, Wright broke free and got back in the vehicle to try to get away. Now, former police officer Kim Potter yelled a warning, "Taser, taser, taser," before firing her gun, hitting Wright once in the chest. He tried to drive away and got a couple of blocks before crashing. His mother frantically tried calling him back, and the girl he was with finally answered on FaceTime and screamed that Dante had been shot.
I just pointed the phone towards the driver's seat, and my son was laying there, unresponsive.
That was the last time Katie Wright saw Dante. Family members acknowledge it wasn't the best decision for Dante to try to escape, but says he posed no threat to the police and didn't deserve to die. Angie Goldson is Dante's grandmother.
Supposed to try to tackle
That was a beautiful town.
Where's this shooting someone for running away come from? Or the taser? You claim you got trained with that taser. You don't understand what it does. It's a cattle prod. It makes you move. It makes you get up and move.
It's gonna be missed.
Funeral arrangements for Dante Wright are still pending.
David
Schaefer, NPR News, Minneapolis.
And the other thing is,
For millions
if you
of
feel the need to use it on somebody, you don't think they might have some type of armor
covers
under
the
there?
cost of things like birth control and STD screenings
you
under
aim
the
for
Trump
the chest?
administration. Clinics that provide abortions or abortion referrals were banned from
this
the
is bad.
program,
You hit 'em in the
and many
hand, the
dropped
toe,
out.
whatever
Now
you
the
hit 'em
Biden
with.
administration is taking steps to
It's less likely to stop his fucking heart.
China-EU GI agreement also includes other products in Xinjiang, such as raisins, apples, lavender, and its freshwater fish. Yang
It also
Hongmei,
means
with the
the fucking
Xinjiang
thing was up in
Administration
front of
for
her.
Market Regulation, said
It's bright
they hope
yellow.
that more products can be included.
挖掘培育
The
更多
bottom
的
half of that
We will
thing's the same
explore
as the
and
block.
develop more products
Bad,
with
bad,
geographical
bad.
indications and highlight standards for our characteristics and quality. We'll keep up the work of GI protection in the region with a focus on exhibitions,
It also
trade
means she
fairs,
confused
wholesale
left and
markets,
right,
and
yet she passed
tourism.
the test to
China
be a
became
police
the
officer.
EU's largest trading partner last year, with bilateral trade volume reaching over 600 billion US dollars. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Wen Jie.
Tech companies have been making advances in car production. The latest announcement saw Huawei investing in the building of smart vehicles. Feifei has more.
Huawei
Because
has
if anybody
announced
could do it, they
to
will.
invest $1 billion in the research of self-driving
I've been
and
using this
electric
phone
car
since
technologies.
2013.
The plan aims to provide information and communications technologies to
The
traditional
only thing
car
wrong with them, they
makers.
last too damn
The
long.
company also said it will collaborate with
The
ARC
T-Mobile
in
version's
producing its
two-tone.
latest
It's
model,
gray
which
and black
includes
or
a
something.
smart display with LiDAR technology as well as 5G
Yes,
connectivity
but where
to
will you
provide
charge?
self-driving. ArcFox is
Where will
affiliated
you
to the
charge?
bike
If
group in
Dodge,
China.
I
The new
want Dodge to
model
make a
Alpha S
Ramadan and
is
an electric
expected to be
charger.
launched in Shanghai this Saturday. In fact,
My
Xiaomi and
charger needs a
Baidu have
charger.
also
Where do I
announced
charge my
partnerships
charger?
with traditional
Excuse
car
me.
makers in developing EV.
In the middle of the field, it's done. Yeah, they don't necessarily need significant amounts of operators and support to keep them going.
You know, is there competition now? You know, you pointed out the situation with the grid in Texas. You just were pointing out wind and wind turbines. You know, is there a tussle or a sale going on over, you know, where to concentrate our future when it comes to energy right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing is not to constrain any one area. Anybody that tells you that we can just do it with wind and solar isn't right. They are important, but not by themselves. We still will always require sufficient permanent power that's always there, always on, that can deliver for us.
You mean like geothermal, like Moscow uses?
Significant lifestyle changes, we're always going to need electricity, we're always going to need energy. We think about the heating, we think about the aircon in the summer, we think about machines and industry and electric vehicles. We're forgetting a lot of this push towards electric vehicles is going to require significant amounts of electricity, of course. Now, you might be able to offset some of that by being more energy efficient in other sectors, but we're still going to need at least the minimum electricity that we're providing now. So what do? You know, if we turn off a coal plant to meet our carbon emissions,
what?
Do you get rid of that electricity? Where does it come from? What happens if it's not sunny? What happens if the wind isn't blowing?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of variables.
That's not how it works.
I want to ask
those
you,
are
there are
answers. They have nothing to
environmentalists
do
who
with
say
reality.
that this is
They
kind
keep
of a
trying to say there's times the wind
distraction,
doesn't blow.
and that if you're going to fight against global warming,
We've been pumping the water out of the Netherlands for 400 years with wind.
What do you say? What's the pushback?
It still hasn't flooded. So.
Well, the point is, people will say that SMRs haven't been proven, and I will say that they've been in operation for 70 years already. Yeah, they've been on submarines, they've been on ships, they've been on icebreakers.
The submarine reactor is what
Arctic,
was installed at Fukushima.
So they can be built.
1953, I believe, the Chalk River plant blew the lid of the containment building up 4 feet in the air. And there were witnesses, but nobody got a photo.
Yeah, are they safer? I mean, what data do you have, and how are they safer?
They want to use a small modular reactor in Alberta to provide the power to extract the tar sands so we can subsidize oil to the United States while we import from Saudi Arabia. By the way, we sold $200 billion of arms to.
SMRs are
they're being used in Yemen to shoot children climbing trees.
Knowledge of all of those accidents and incidents and better engineering practices more generally, and
really teaching
in effect, we engineer out those weak points. One of the issues that you see with nuclear power is taking the heat away when you shut the reactor down. That's the principal thing.
Oh, what?
So what a lot of reactors in the SMR space do is they have what we call passive safety. Now that could be employing things like gravity. You know, gravity isn't going to switch off. It doesn't matter if you have a tsunami. You know, gravity's still going to go down.
Yeah,
so what you're saying finally is, it seems to me that what you're saying is some of the things that would make us nervous, we have seen in the headlines.
So that GE reactor, the problem is the floor cracked and all the water keeps leaking. The water level rose, but then the
built pushbacks
floor cracked and all the water in the fucking thing leaked out.
In the new versions. of these
So yeah,
reactors.
gravity kept working. You can't outsmart
Absolutely.
stupid. The concrete cracked. Or whatever
Nuclear,
the fuck
like any
it's
other
built out of.
industry, doesn't sit at one point in time and only
Those
think
submarine
about
reactors
the
are designed to
designs
fall
and
out of
what we have
the
then.
submarine
Yeah,
if something
yeah.
goes wrong.
Automotive industry.
And
It
they'll just
changes.
sit on the
It
ocean floor
improves.
boiling
We now
the
have
water
electric
until they
vehicles
come pick
coming
it
on.
up.
And I'm sure we'll go to something else in the
But they
future.
installed it on land.
You know,
So
we
you have
take no
something called
different.
China
We learn
syndrome
from the
where
past
it digs all
and
over
apply
China.
best
It just
practice
keeps sinking into the earth.
and are responsible. It's one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world.
And that's why you won't get
And
your
with
small
very good
modular
reason,
reactor
and
tar sands
you did
piece of
it.
shit.
You gave us the details on this technical topic, and we appreciate it. Dr. Kirk
No, we didn't.
Atkinson is the director for Center for Small Modular Reactors,
So
Associate
that
Professor
reactor I
at
just said blew its
Industrial
top off
Research
4
Chair
feet
at
in
the
the air.
Faculty of Energy Systems and Nuclear
That
Science,
is a
Ontario
can-do
Tech
reactor,
University.
which is
That's
a
a hell of a
triple
long
stage
title,
cooling,
Dr.
passive
Atkinson.
cooling
It
reactor.
really is. Thank
With
you
no
for joining
electricity
us.
whatsoever.
We
This thing
appreciate
will
it.
just sit there
All right.
heating up the
There you
atmosphere,
go. I don't know if we
guess,
made it
for the next
sexy, but I
10,000
learned
years.
more about it.
Nothing will
We're
happen
going to
as long
take a
as the
break. I'm
concrete
Marlene Bynum
is,
for Alex Pearson tonight. We will
intact.
return. This is On Point Global News Radio.
You didn't explain shit.
Time now for a check on the roads with a look at
explain shit. They designed that reactor to have triple stage passive cooling, and yet it blew its lid 4 feet in the air. The gravity always works. Yeah, that should have held water in the. I don't know if it has passive cooling, like movement of the water, but it would have kept water in the reactor cores at Daiichi, Fukushima Daiichi. But the earthquake and tsunami destroyed everything, and then all the water leaked out. And they claim they've been pumping it all into these tanks. I don't believe you got it. I don't believe that. I believe that's a token gesture. That's why they're making such a big issue of, oh, you can't dump it in the sea. It's like, how much water already went in the sea? How many of those fuel rods vaporized? They were exposed to the open air until they were gone. 1,100 depleted fuel rods. That's all things considered. Wow. They want to use nuclear reactors to heat up the top.
Headache, swelling, dizziness, or tiredness. I also slept very well. I posted online about my experience getting vaccinated with Sinovac vaccines. Many of my doctor friends, who are around the same age with me, have commented that they can't wait to get vaccinated as well.
The country has received the third order of 1 million doses from Sinovac that will be administered to people in Thailand after mid-April. Among a total of 2 million vaccine doses Thailand ordered from the Chinese biopharmaceutical firm, the first batch of 200,000 doses.
Keep those dirty people away from us where it came from. That'll somehow help you. We need to know where it came from. Well, you don't. Then they stop
Pakistani
contact
authorities
tracing.
say the country will open COVID-19
contact
vaccine
tracing.
registration for all age
They
groups
tell
in
you
mid-May.
to
Thailand
tell
is now
everybody,
administering a second batch of
you
vaccine
who's dying in
produced
the
by
ICU
Sinovac.
is supposed to tell all
Manu
your
Licha
friends.
Wenwang is a 70-year-old respiratory specialist based in Bangkok.
This is the
He's
logic of
recently
Toronto Public
inoculated
Health.
with the first dose. His second dose is scheduled 3 weeks later.
I didn't experience fever, headache, swelling, dizziness, or tiredness. I also slept very well. I posted online about my experience getting vaccinated with Sinovac vaccines.
Bank Ultimate Package and get a savings rate of up to 1.8%. Unlimited Interac
So
e-transfer
everybody at the top level
transactions,
of
an
government
annual
of
credit
the
card fee
country
waiver
is
on
under
select credit cards,
investigation.
and a $300 welcome bonus. It's the bank account that...
And it could have set a precedent for their other facilities in the U.S. To talk about this and how public opinion on labor unions has changed over the years, I'm joined now by Gallup editor-in-chief and host of the Gallup podcast, Muhammad Yunus. Welcome.
Having your ticket feels a lot like that moment between and
So get that $6.49 feeling. Buy your ticket today to feel the anticipation that comes with a chance to win a jackpot of an estimated $23 million, plus the guaranteed $1 million prize.
Hi, it's Fido. When it comes to streaming your favorite movies, don't let your data plan...
Thrombotic events, which are extremely rare, are a serious adverse event that adenovirus-vectored vaccines have in common. At the moment, the association does not have a proven causality, but certainly I think the Americans are right to just take a much closer look at it.
U.S. CDC and the Food and Drug Agency said one death has been reported from the rare blood clotting condition among recipients of the vaccine, while another person's in critical condition. The EMA says Johnson & Johnson's in contact with national authorities and has advised it is storing the already received shots until a recommendation is issued. Denmark has become the first country to completely stop using AstraZeneca's COVID-19. Hold. Meantime, an infectious disease expert says the U.S. Federal Health Agency's recommendation to pause the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was correct. Robert Rees, a professor of infectious diseases at Southampton University in the UK.
It's possible that these rather nasty thrombotic events, which are extremely rare, are a serious adverse event that adenovirus-vectored vaccines have in common. At the moment, the association does not have a proven causality, but certainly I think the Americans are right to just take a much closer look at it.
U.S. CDC and the Food and Drug Agency said one death has been reported from the rare blood clotting condition among recipients of the vaccine, while another person's in critical condition. The EMA says Johnson & Johnson's in contact with national authorities and has advised it is storing the already received shots until a recommendation is issued. Denmark has become the first country to completely stop using AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine due to reports of very rare cases of blood clots. Danish Health Authority Chief Søren Brostrøm says the decision follows an intensive investigation into the possible link between the shots and the clots.
We're now convinced of the plausibility and the causality of this rare syndrome of VITT. It is a very serious case. We also have a risk estimate of 1 in 40,000 vaccinated. This is new knowledge that we didn't have when we took the AstraZeneca in use.
Denmark is also pausing the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine pending investigation into possible similar issues. Last week, the European Medicines Agency said it had found a possible link between the AstraZeneca shot and clotting, but the European regulator left it to individual states to make their own risk assessments and decide how to administer the vaccine. As of April the 4th, the regulator had reports of 169 cases after 34 million AstraZeneca doses had been administered in the European Economic Area. U.S. President Joe Biden has announced the withdrawal of all American troops from Afghanistan by September 11th. Biden says the United States will continue to support the Afghan government and provide assistance to the Afghan military after the withdrawal. He also voiced U.S. support for the peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban, facilitated by the United Nations. Republicans say the decision threatens to derail peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban. Washington correspondent Giles Gibson reports.
There was clear symbolism in this announcement. The US launched its invasion of Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks in 2001. Now US President Joe Biden says all US troops will be pulled out by the 20th anniversary.
I'm now the fourth United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility onto a 5th.
The Pentagon says there are roughly 2,500 US troops in Afghanistan, although media reports suggest the actual number is more like 3,500. The Trump administration had previously agreed to pull out by the 1st of May this year. The top Republican in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, accused President Biden of abandoning Afghanistan. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the American people don't want endless wars. More than 2,200 American soldiers and at least 100,000 Afghan civilians have died over 2 decades of fighting in Afghanistan. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Giles Gibson in Washington.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says it's now up to Afghanistan to secure peace in the country as NATO withdraws its troops after 20 years. He announced that foreign troops under NATO command will withdraw from Afghanistan from May the 1st in coordination with the U.S. pull-up by September the 11th.
We will start the withdrawal of NATO rescue support mission forces by May 1st. Our drawdown will be orderly, coordinated, and deliberate. We plan to complete the drawdown for all our troops within a few months.
With the announcement after meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in Brussels, the three officials maintained that neither the U.S. nor NATO would abandon Afghanistan despite the impending pullout. Stoltenberg announced NATO's decision shortly after U.S. President Joe Biden announced plans to withdraw U.S. troops. There are about 7,000 non-U.S. forces from mainly NATO countries, but also from Australia, New Zealand, and Georgia, while the U.S. has 2,500
Australia,
troops.
New Zealand, part of the Five Eyes.
Minnesota authorities have announced former police officer Kim Potter, who fatally shot a black man, will be charged with second-degree manslaughter for the killing. 20-year-old Dante Wright was shot on Sunday after being pulled over for what police said was an expired car registration. Officers say Potter mistakenly used a gun instead of a taser in the fatal shooting. Protesters clashed with police for a third night on Tuesday in the city following the killing. The State Patrol says there were more than 60 arrests. Attorney Ben Crump, who represents the Wright and George Floyd families, called for convictions for both former police officers involved.
I honestly believe that a conviction in the Chauvin trial for the killing of George Floyd could set a precedent in America where we will find police officers being held accountable and sent to prison for killing black people in America.
Brooklyn Center, a city of about 31,000, is just a few miles away from Minneapolis, where the murder trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin over George Floyd's death in May 2020 is underway. Iranian authorities have reiterated Tehran's position that U.S. sanctions must be lifted before Iran returns to compliance with the 2015 nuclear deal. Talks resumed in Vienna on April the 6th. The U.S. government has sent representatives to take part in the process, but Tehran has until now refused to meet them, since Washington abandoned the JCPOA in May 2018 and unilaterally reimposed sanctions on Iran. Under the JCPOA, Iran is allowed to enrich uranium up to 3.6% purity and hold a stockpile of no more than 300 kilograms. However, Iran's been scaling down its compliance to its JCPOA obligations. At 28 past the hour, Beijing today getting some blowing sand. The high is 23 degrees Celsius, a low of 8 this evening. Chongqing's overcast and 20, then down to 16. Lhasa is overcast with a high of 15, a low of +3. Hong Kong's overcast and 27 today, the low is 21. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry is in China for talks in Shanghai that are ongoing until Saturday.
You know what's
European
funny? There's a
countries are
photo of the
increasingly
place on
ordering
the front of
local
it. It's
agricultural
no
products from
top
Xinjiang.
secret thing that
The
you
European
see
Medicines
outside the
Agency
building.
says it'll soon issue a ruling on the use of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing
The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour brings you an hour of comprehensive news and information from both China and the rest of the world. A mix of news, sports, and entertainment. In-depth analysis of the day's big stories, as well as the most comprehensive business of the day. The Beijing Hour. Beijing Hour. Your very own window to China and the rest of the world.
A million, a billion, or maybe a gazillion years ago, a giant split open an egg. Then came the lady giant who made people, and Mr. Curate, the bottom, Mr. Handyman, the Baron on the top. This is our new season of Chinese folktales, and we will explore the ancient, mystical world together. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen.
300 kilograms. So they have a license here to dump 9,000 kilos down the sewer in a year. Put that into perspective. they admit to putting 18 grams a year out of their vent stack. Uranium dioxide vapor or something.
Beijing Hour, or visit the Beijing Hour page on Facebook for more news, videos, and analysis. Now, to provide rule of law safeguards for developing market entities and boosting fair competition. The draft is detailed unified measures on the registration of companies, individually owned businesses, and farmer cooperatives. More than 60 million new market entities were added during the country's 13th five-year plan, helping to create numerous jobs. A state council meeting chaired by Premier Li Keqiang says China will continue to deepen its reforms, seeking to streamline administration, delegate power, and upgrade services. China's lodged solemn representations with the United States over the U.S. government sending a delegation to the Taiwan region. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian made the remarks after U.S. President Joe Biden said a delegation of former U.S. officials will visit Taiwan from Wednesday to Friday. The spokespersons reiterated China's firm opposition to any form of official contact between the United States and Taiwan, urging the U.S. to strictly abide by the One China principle and the 3 China-U.S. joint communiques. U.S. Special Presidential Envoy John Kerry is visiting China and will hold talks with his Chinese counterpart Xie Zhenhua in Shanghai. A statement from the Chinese Foreign Ministry says the two sides are expected to exchange views on climate change cooperation, as well as the 2021 UN Climate Change Conference, which will be held in Glasgow in November. John Kerry's visit in China will last until Saturday. The International Atomic Energy Agency chief is urging transparency as Japan's decision on nuclear wastewater sparks international backlash. Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi says that when the wastewater is released, it should cause no harm to the environment. Grossi says Japan's neighboring countries and also local people in Japan, such as fishermen, are all very concerned. He says the IAEA will cooperate with Japan with professional work organized before, during, and after the controlled release of treated water into the ocean. U.S. President Joe Biden's announced the withdrawal of all American troops from Afghanistan by September the 11th. Biden says the United States will continue to support the Afghan government and provide assistance to the Afghan military after the withdrawal. He also voiced U.S. support for peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban, facilitated by the United Nations. Republicans say the decision threatens to derail peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban. The Trump administration had previously agreed to pull out by May 1st. More than 2,200 American soldiers and at least 100,000 Afghan civilians have died over 2 decades of fighting in Afghanistan.
Didn't they just say 200,000?
The Saudi Arabian Foreign Ministry has expressed concerns over the latest developments of Iran's nuclear program. The ministry says the recent Iranian announcement of raising the level of uranium enrichment to 60% cannot be considered a program intended for peaceful uses. The ministry has called on Iran to avoid escalation to preserve regional security and stability. It also urged Iran to engage in the current negotiations over its nuclear program. Iran announced its plan to start producing uranium enriched to 60% purity on Tuesday, just days after a blast at its Natanz nuclear facility that caused a blackout at that facility. Denmark has become the first country to completely stop using AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine due to reports of very rare cases of blood clotting. Danish Health Authority Chief Søren Brostrøm says the decision follows an intensive investigation into the possible link between the shots and the clots.
We're now convinced of the plausibility and the causality of this rare syndrome of VITT. It is a very serious case. We also have a risk estimate of 1 in 40,000 of vaccinated. This is new knowledge that we didn't have when we took the AstraZeneca use.
Denmark has also paused the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, pending investigation into a possible similar issue. Last week, the European Medicines Agency said it had found a possible link between the AstraZeneca shot and clotting, but the European regulator left it to individual states to make their own risk assessments and decide how to administer the vaccine. As of April 4th, the regulator had reports of 169 cases after 34 million AstraZeneca doses been administered in the European Economic Area. This is Shane Bigham, live from the Chinese capital. Coming up in business, rising prices in China.
You're listening to the Beijing Hour. 60 minutes of comprehensive news. Your window on China.
Right now, we just don't have the choice. You know, beggars, choosers, all those old adages come to mind. And we're also dealing with a different virus. They call it a pandemic within a pandemic, or two pandemics here. And the variants are something else. That's also a concern, isn't it? Because we have some information, some data that these vaccines do work against the variants. But how long will that last? I think perhaps Dr. Jacobs, we have to be willing to go with the flow here.
Well, the problem is the speed of mutations versus the speed of vaccination. If you vaccinate,
you realize every time it replicates, slowly, there could be one.
It gives the time to select out virus strains that are not going to respond to the vaccine. So the best way to vaccinate a whole population is to do it very quickly. And by doing that, you stuff out the virus, and the virus doesn't have a chance
whole world, and you're not doing all the animals. You're counting the population of a country as being equivalent
to maybe we just need to vaccinate population what we've got, and in order to get to a herd immunity as quickly as possible.
There's no such thing. It's a theory.
You know,
and that's why everybody's got a different number.
Every day this week, you and I have been talking about the challenges with the ICU units and people being moved and all the signs that were predicted. You know, we just ran a clip of Isaac Gogosh saying it stinks out there, but we are going to make it. Are you seeing any signs of pumping out there? Are we seeing any sign of cracks? Can it go either way? How do you feel about what you're seeing in the hospitals today?
So what we're seeing in the hospitals today is a manageable situation, but we know that a certain percentage of people who get COVID-19 and end up in hospital will ultimately end up in the ICU. And so we've got a lot of people who are kind of on deck, as it were, to end up in the ICU. And if our rates continue to rise in the community, then there's a chance that we're
this is the thing with me trying to get diagnosed with sickle cell.
So the most important
you live in Canada for healthcare, go for it.
These new variants
2 months later, this comes
more contagious, and we need people who are very high quality.
Less likely to get the ICU
you have medical grade masks
than somebody else. So even though the police write me down as white over and over and over,
take it seriously.
Doctors say, well, he's got sickle cell, so there's no point getting him in the ICU.
We won't find ourselves in the situation that we're fearing most.
I can build ventilators. They won't let me.
Right now is the psychology.
If I should need one, they're going to put me lower on the list.
As a concern. And now we've got all this moving around when it comes to the vaccines in people's minds. And let's face it, we see people take advantage of that. Fear is marketable these days. And it's happening perhaps a little bit more in the United States.
They're doing it right now. They're literally doing it right now. That's why you didn't know what to say.
Leads to all sorts of difficult things. We've got people who are using it to call people for anti-vaccine, anti-masking, anti-lockdown issues. You've got people who prey on people's fears by giving them, selling fake vaccines over the internet and fake cures for COVID. Fear is a terrible motivator. They always motivate us in the wrong direction. But yes, we're seeing cracks that way, and have since the beginning, really.
We are. How's the medical community holding up here? I mean,
all organizing these protests and marches.
You can see them.
Keep getting charged and fined and arrested and released.
You can see
the barbecue guy,
virologists,
they bumped somebody on my unit, his
sparring back and forth over the latest data. I think it's quite healthy. Is there a healthy debate right now?
They had to get the barbecue guy out on bail. Right
There's
back to infecting
three
the public.
debates that you see. There's a healthy debate that you're talking about, and that's what leads to new developments and breakthroughs in science, and it's fantastic. And honestly,
that's where the
majority of the
variant takes over.
Then there's the unhealthy debate.
8 times more people that are vaccinated that have the variant than unvaccinated that have the variant.
The anti-vaxxers among the medical community. That's really difficult.
This is another thing they made up. They made up a label to apply to people, and nobody they're trying to apply it to is an
And then there's the political debate between people who are kind of
mercury, formaldehyde, aluminum,
push a political agenda, and you see a lot of that on Twitter and social media. But again, that represents really the smallest, a very small.
You have to follow those people to see that.
For the most part, we're all in it together. We're all working hard and supporting each other to support the community.
All right. Well said. Very careful. Very careful.
All the old people and all the little kids, and everybody in the middle is going to die. That's what's going to happen.
Dr. David Jacobs, Ontario Specialist Association Chair, Coalition of Ontario Doctors, and President of the Ontario Association of Radiologists. Jason Kenney, even Premier Jason Kenney, calling these protesters.
That's the other thing they need this fuel pellet plant for. They don't make isotopes here, so far as I understand.
But we're giving it all we have.
The ship was 176 feet long and went down about 8 miles south of Port Fourchon, an industrial port on the southern tip of Louisiana. It's a hub for most of the Gulf's offshore oil and gas drilling operations. The Seacor Power is a lift boat, a large vessel with giant 250-foot legs that can be dropped to the seafloor to create a platform to support offshore drilling or construction. Wilson says it's too early to say why the large commercial ship capsized, but the weather at the time was terrible.
89 miles per hour weather winds, 7 to 9 foot seas, and extremely limited visibility. Fortunately, even with adverse weather conditions, our crews were able to get on scene and respond within about 30 minutes.
The storm system that swept through the Gulf yesterday was unusually strong, producing several hours of near hurricane-force winds and drenching rain. Chucky Sheremy Jr., president of the board commission that oversees Port Fourchon, says people who live and work in this region are used to nasty weather, but this storm seemed to catch everyone off guard.
Yeah, we used to living with it. We're just surprised that the weather came down this quick. At home, it was looking like, 70 to 80 mile an hour gust. I'm a long-time mariner, and that's all you have to do is just watch the weather and hope for the best.
The weather is bad again today, but there is some hope. A Coast Guard official said it's possible there are survivors still on the ship, which remains on its side in about 50 feet of water. For NPR News, I'm Patrick Madden.
You haven't flipped it over yet? You haven't got anybody on it yet? Really? Your crews were able to get out there in 30 minutes, but you didn't. What the fuck? You guys aren't thorough. You guys aren't thorough. The Canadian Forces has these little duck boats with impeller outboard motors that'll run on whiskey. There's videos of the engine running on whiskey. They've got the wetsuits, dry suits, everything. They'd be in and out of there. They got scanners to fucking find heat sources and bubbles of air in the fucking thing. Because if you can, you should check for that first before you flip it over. I don't know what the boat looks like to even guess. Oh, all right, that's some BBC now broadcasting. Thank you.
It did, and that's how she found Lamont, her new.
You have a hurricane season. You don't
have COVID cases were nearly non-existent in Papua New Guinea until last month. What happened?
I think basically because a lot of people didn't take COVID seriously, and most of them didn't comply with the new measures that was put in place
people trying to offload
protect
guns.
people,
They can't
like
get them to the
masking
usual
out
customers that showed up.
social
You heard this 2
distancing.
days ago.
One of the other reasons it was the country lost its founding father, and there was
They're trading guns
a
for
big
weed.
gathering.
That means they can't get them to
This
the
is
places that have coke.
Papua New Guinea's founding father, the first
Or
prime
heroin
minister
or
of the
whatever the
country,
fuck.
who died in February, and then there was a funeral and mass gatherings to mourn, which had a lot of people together, I guess, and allowed the virus to spread.
Yeah, there were thousands of people gathered. We had a 2 weeks national house cry, and then followed by the state funeral event, and then everyone flew over to Reactors for the burial. So it was just packed. Even the government knew the risk,
How many
but
rental
we
trucks
went
do you
on
have full
ahead.
of bodies right now?
About the mortgage providers.
We had a hard to
confirm that the Copa America will be played this year with or without fans in the stadiums of Argentina.
Slightly confused. All these stations are on here if they don't fucking. It says that they get removed from the list eventually.
1323. That's 416-398-1323.
Visit the mortgage providers.
Angry callers.
Health system is exhausted from years of neglect by authorities, and with COVID-19 now, it's even worse.
What about vaccines? How is the vaccine campaign going in Papua New Guinea?
It's the same response like the first time COVID was talked about. People don't believe in the vaccines. They're afraid that the vaccine is going to kill them. Some even believing that this vaccine is aimed at killing off black population.
No.
Well, there's been good response too. We've had about 1,500 people vaccinated so far, and the rollout is continuing. New vaccines arrived yesterday, so 132,000
people. They're good people.
Is it fair to say then the greater challenge right now is not supply of vaccines, it's convincing people to get the
good
vaccine?
Christian values, we don't know how he could die.
I think the greatest challenge right now is to convince people to be vaccinated. There are some doctors posting inaccurate information. COVID vaccines is not good and all that. Don't trust it. So there was a debate organized for the doctors to have an argument out where the public could witness it. So they brought in the doctors.
So you're again going by the theory that somebody says something on the internet, so that's the reason everybody thinks that way.
Hosted this debate. Yeah, so they're trying their best to get this misinformation out.
That is Rebecca Cuckoo, a journalist based in Port Moresby University Health Network.
So
Roger McIntyre.
2 different media sources about the blood clot thing when it first came out.
Is it a scientific adaptation of the brain? Or are there studies now that are
maybe it was the variant breakthrough? One or the other. I
posted this shit. With you. The answer is yes, yes. And brain fog
one of them
is
got
real.
no,
what I mean by real
nothing
is
whatsoever.
we can
the second link got this. This contains information about COVID vaccines.
We
you need to go to
look
here
at
and read
animals,
this about the truth about
and we
COVID
subject
vaccines.
animals in some of our stress studies
through.
To stress, notably early, unpredictable stress.
First one's supposed to,
because stress comes in 2 forms. Stress that we can predict the endpoint, and stress when we can't. The latter's unpredictable. It's infinitely more malignant to the brain because the brain loves predictability. In animals, when they're subjected to this unpredictable stress, they never know when the next grief is going to come or when it's going to end, which is a lot like COVID. The animals begin to show decreases in their cognitive abilities. Their ability to process information decreases, and it's apparent in their objective behavior. What about humans? Well, this has been shown. When people are exposed to stress, especially with unpredictable, chronic, malignant as it is right now, we actually can detect early, right in the human brain, using imaging scans, we can see changes in not only the structure, but the function of that region in our brain that is responsible for 2 things: our ability to think and the enjoyment and motivation that weaves into the thinking process. So people are probably sitting at home feeling brain fog. Not only is their mind not quite as sharp, I always say the chip is slowing down, they don't have the same degree of pleasure or enjoyment or even motivation that they once had, and this weaves together.
You know, in some of these studies, one of the reasons we wanted to contact you about this is we're learning more, just like you're saying. What happens, you know, we had a little brief time where things were looking up and things were loosening. Will it come back then? Will our enjoyment come back? I guess I'm asking you a couple of things. You know, if closing down causes these problems, does opening up bring pleasure, and is this reversible?
Great question. On a positive note, it is absolutely reversible, and it will be reversible for most people once they can get back on planes and go to their gyms and see a friend for coffee and sit in a nice restaurant, have a glass of wine. All the things people like to do and they should do and they're going to be able to do. Yes, it will. However, it won't be for everybody. You know, the way
nobody should be traumatized by that now, right?
There's what we call a window of opportunity, and when that window of opportunity goes on too long for some people, they have a really difficult time. And we've learned from previous pandemics and economic shocks and these chronic events in society that some people, unfortunately, don't come out of this reversing back to where they were. They could find themselves feeling like they had depression or even a mental illness, which they should speak to a healthcare provider. But the way you started that, Arlene, is so critical. And you're right. Things looked as though they were getting
back
better.
To the medical providers who will not
in
diagnose
fact,
you
it wasn't getting better.
If they do,
and that leaves us feeling
helpless. The medical
and
society, which is the
a
word
key
for
part here because it contributes to the sense of fatigue, lack of motivation, and what I call the lack of personal agency. In other words, we're not feeling as though we can control our destiny. That's stressful. That's very stressful. And that is also the solution. We don't need, in fact, to say this is what is expected. We all have to be in brainwashed. No, we don't.
That's why
because other research, Arlene, has shown that when people are placed in a situation of unpredictable stress, the more control over the environment, their own personal environment that they impart,
is waste of time. I'm still tuned in.
There will still be a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere. And that will continue to warm the planet.
It's not just CO2. Another greenhouse gas, nitrous oxide, takes about a century to break down. Methane, which mostly comes from agriculture and oil and gas wells, is a funny one.
No, it leaks out of the ground on its own.
It's extremely good at trapping heat, much better than CO2.
Yeah,
but it's way less stable, so it breaks down after about 10 years. But when it breaks down, methane can turn into CO2. This is why greenhouse gases accumulate in the atmosphere over time, and why even if the U.S. were to dramatically reduce emissions immediately, it would take a little while for the atmosphere to catch up.
So it's kind of like you're driving a giant train. It's very heavy. You slam on the brakes. The train keeps going for a while. So there is some amount of heating that we would continue to experience.
Shang says cutting emissions as much as possible, as quickly as possible, is absolutely crucial. It will make the world a lot safer for people who are in kindergarten right now.
So these
but
people's
if humanity is a
that
train that's about to hit its brakes,
less of a
then
market
it's important to remember that the train is headed for a cliff. And the people who are at the front of this train are those who are most vulnerable to rising
this is what's going to save the world from the methane that could break down into carbon dioxide. There's
those are the people that actually get sent off the cliff,
leaking out of the
They're the
ground
ones
in Russia
who really are harmed because we didn't stop the train fast enough. Doesn't mean everyone goes off the cliff.
These people's
minds,
tapping that
those people on the
deposit
front lines, they're going to continue to bear the brunt of climate change for the next several decades.
Around the world, the people on the front lines are more likely to be poor people. It's why cutting greenhouse gas emissions won't be enough on its own. Countries like the U.S. will need to help pay for the costs of adaptation.
When you speak
because
of the
no matter what, it's going to be a dangerously hot century for a lot of people. Rebecca Hersher,
when you look out the window and you see a person, it's more likely that it's a poor person.
Ago, but remains are still being found in mass graves, and the region remains haunted by that conflict. A new film tells the story of the genocide that finally led to NATO's intervention in 1995. It's called Quo Vadis, Ida, and it's a nominee for this year's Oscars. Bilal Qureshi reports.
Filmmaker Jasmila Zvanic was 17 when the Bosnian War began in 1992.
It started like riots on Congress in January in US. Just some masked, crazy people coming out, and we all thought in a few days it will be over. You know, I was happy when this happened because I thought, oh, what a cool thing not to go to school and have whole city stopped. So many crazy things are happening. We really didn't believe it will be war.
In reality, Bosnia became the longest and bloodiest European conflict since World War II. The ethnic cleansing and the international community's reluctance to act formed Jasmila Zvanic as a young woman.
The Covenant House. I knew somebody that was from. He came here from
the defining moment in that war
because he was
a genocide of more than 8,000 Muslim
they would have killed him just for being
civilians
what he was.
By Serbian forces in the city of Srebrenica.
You promised us that Serbs would not enter the town, that you would protect us.
I didn't promise anything. The film premiered at the Venice Film Festival last fall.
I was absolutely gobsmacked by it.
CNN anchor Christian Amanpour covered Bosnia as a young war reporter.
It was the very first time since the Second World War that kind of fascist, genocidal politics took place in Europe. In, by the way, the full satellite TV zone and the government were watching this unfold and doing nothing until Srebrenica.
But Quo Vadis, Aida is not journalism. It's a cinematic drama.
media are dealing with numbers or shocking images, but cinema allows us to identify with characters and spend time with them and be with their decisions,
minimize it down
having
to one or two fictional characters as opposed
the
to
character at the
thousands of
center
real
of
people.
Yasmila Spanic's film is a woman named Aida, who is working as a translator at the UN base in Srebrenica.
Srebrenica is a UN safe zone, and your mission is to protect people. And with this UN badge, she thinks she has privilege, because not only that UN was in charge of protecting people, but because she works for them, she felt she's part of UN and safe. So she believed her family is also safe.
But Aida is Bosnian. Refugees and desperate Muslim families, including her own, are huddled outside the gates of the UN base as Serbian forces march toward the crowd.
To the red license plate
They're
here.
refused protection.
Please, put my family on the list.
We're dealing with the lives of thousands of people right now. If I add their names, I'll be jeopardizing the safety of all those with UN identity cards.
Quo Vadis Aida is an immersive and intimate war film. The music doesn't swell, and there are no harrowing montages of violence or
The translators are the first to get picked off.
Audience very much,
and
and I know that audience can
don't
imagine many things, so I didn't show blood and violence in an obvious way. I really think we don't have to see men in blood to understand they were all killed. And also, out of respect for survivors, you know, I really wanted to treat every fact and every emotion as truthful as possible, because I knew they will be watching film as well.
For some viewers, the results were too real to watch.
I can tell you that many of my friends and family reported not being able to finish the film in one sitting.
Amir Husak is a Bosnian professor of media studies at the New School in New York.
It is a collective trauma that we're speaking about, and it brings back many painful memories.
The film's title, Quo Vadis Aida, taken from the apocryphal Christian tradition, asks the question at the heart of the film's story. Where is Aida going, and where does a society go after a war ends? For NPR News, I'm Bilal Qureshi.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
So Canada and NATO
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Subaru with the 2021 Subaru Forester, featuring standard symmetrical all-wheel drive.
Since around that time, Canada in particular, and NATO in general, have tried to take a step back from the public eye. They don't want to be seen as being like wanting to go to war. You scream about being peacekeepers all day long, and then we don't really want to go. It's not that bad.
And now time for a check-in on the roads. Ari Rabinovich. It's still a quiet drive at all the highways across the board. MTO is doing a lot of construction this evening, but so far nothing causing too major of a delay. But including on the East 401, there's construction from Dufferin to the Allen and the Collectors blocking the right lane. Also Toronto bound QEW at the Burlington Skyway where 2 right lanes are blocked. We do have some in-town issues though, some delays around Jane and Shepherd due to a nearby police investigation. Earn PC Optimum points exclusively at Esso and mobile stations. Fill your tank, fuel your points at over 2,000 Esso and mobile stations. I'm Ari Rabinovich, Global News Radio 640.
This is your breaking news station, 680 News.
Right now in downtown Toronto, it is 13 degrees and overcast. At Pearson, overcast and 11 degrees. Up in Orangeville, it's dipped down to 10 degrees and overcast. Richmond Hill, it is 13 degrees, mostly cloudy. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. 680 News time, 10 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good evening. This is Wednesday, April 14th. I'm Michelle Morton. And I'm Caitlin Lee. Here's what's making news this hour. Toronto Public Health compiled a list of over 1,200 locations for mobile and pop-up vaccine clinics in neighborhoods hit hardest by COVID-19.
Health Canada now officially says the AstraZeneca vaccine may be linked to an extremely rare form of blood clot. However, the regulator says the benefits still far outweigh any risks and the shot is safe.
A man has been taken to hospital after a shooting tonight in North York in the area of Jane and Shepherd. An MP apologizing after he was caught on camera.
I know my city, and I know the media here.
Session.
The short-handed Raptors pull off the upset, and the Jays get a big win against the Yankees. Sports 15.
A milestone day for crypto. Coinbase goes public on the NASDAQ. We'll let you know how the stock did. TSX didn't do so good. Business at 26.
680 News Time, 10:01. Time for traffic and weather together on the one. Good evening, Craig here.
Good evening. So we've got a stolen vehicle on the westbound 401 through Islington. It's in the express and it's right in the center lane. Police on scene now, so you should be able to see it and move either to the left or to the right. We do have a tow on scene as well, so a little slow in behind it as you have to navigate through here, but otherwise pretty decent drive. We have some construction going on. Eastbound 407 ramp to the north 427, that's been shut down. The Pine Valley ramps to the east 407 are also closed. Westbound 401, no ramp closures as of right now, but through Avenue Road and the collectors towards the Allen, you have 3 left lanes blocked off, but it's not bad driving through here now. They're shutting down the 2 left lanes through Aurora Road on the southbound 400, so that'll leave you with single lane travel through here. Next report's at 10:11 with the forecast. Here's Denise Andriacci.
Clouds build tonight as showers move into the GTA and temperatures cooling to near 5 degrees for an overnight low. Noticeably cooler for Thursday, and you should keep the umbrella handy. We do have some unsettled wet weather expected for Thursday and Friday.
I can check it on the internet. You know how complicated the Environment Canada website. I just need to know the rainfall. Really.
And partly cloudy at Pearson, 11 degrees and overcast. 680 News Time, 10:02. The City of Toronto is outlining plans to boost vaccine rollout for COVID-19 hotspots by setting up over 1,200 pop-up and mobile clinics. But it comes as many clinics are having to pause shots due to a shortage of supply. 6 Cities, Phil Martino has more. Mayor John Tory says many of their hospital partners that use Moderna in their clinics did not receive a shipment this week, and that's frustrating because they want to vaccinate as many people as possible.
We do know that our clinics can vaccinate more people if we have more supply.
At the moment, the city operating clinics administer the Pfizer vaccine. The shipment is expected Monday afternoon, but what if it does not arrive? Toronto Fire Chief Matthew Peck, who is leading the city's emergency response to COVID, was asked if we should prepare for more clinic closures.
That shipment were to be delayed, yes, we would have to respond to that and look at how we would adjust clinic or adjust the distribution of vaccine, and that could potentially affect booked appointments. But I will reiterate, I don't see any risk for that at all.
Tory says Public Health has compiled a list of over 1,200 locations for pop-up and mobile clinics and hotspots, and that includes seniors buildings and shelters. I'm Phil Martino. Don't believe everything you read on social media. That message from Toronto's medical officer of health today as she tries to sift through COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. 680's Madison Fitzpatrick joins us live with more. Madison. Yeah, Michelle, well, you may see on Facebook or Instagram people posting about the truth of vaccines and COVID-19.
I see people trying to sell me
health doctor, Dr. Villa said you shouldn't believe everything that you read online. So I want to reassure you, news about the vaccines emerges frequently. There's a lot of information available on the internet.
How many invitations I get to these girls that want me to give them money to sex.
Sowing fear and misinformation through social media. To put the risk level into perspective, Dr. Eileen Davila says there's a better chance of a plane hitting your home than developing a complication like a rare blood clot from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
That was the soundbite I was waiting for.
If you are looking for information on COVID-19 on social media, there is the coronavirus
now, we may have got this on a recording today, and maybe the audio cut off. I'm not sure.
On Twitter, a link to the Public Health Agency of Canada comes up.
Let's sit here trying to make a video on purpose.
Also always has an extensive list of vaccination information. Reporting live, I'm Madison Fitzpatrick. Health Canada says there may be a link between very rare blood clots and the AstraZeneca vaccine, but it is not changing its advice or approval of the shot. 6 Cities Parliament Hill reporter
Health Canada has been conducting an ongoing safety review of the AstraZeneca vaccine and is now officially saying there may be a link to these extremely rare blood clots that have been reported in Europe and now a single case in Canada. The regulator will be updating the warning label for the vaccine, but Dr. Supriya Sharma with Health Canada says the shot is still safe.
Health Canada still considers the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Yes, but Health Canada doesn't answer to the patients.
COVID-19.
The risk of getting a blood clot from a vaccine is about 4 in a million. The risk of getting a clot while hospitalized with COVID-19 is 1 in 5. Health Canada says there's no evidence showing certain people through age or sex are more at risk of developing a clot from the shot. Provinces stopped giving AstraZeneca to people under the age of 55 after guidance from the National Advisory Committee on Immunization, which may soon be updating its own advice. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
That's the dressing in layers
COVID-19 update. Premier Doug Ford addressed
everything's simple. Watch out. Oh, dress in layers. Try wearing this many layers and have them all fit properly.
So the message from Doug Ford today is simply don't travel.
We're encouraging all residents of each province to stay at home. Not to be flying into Ontario or flying out of Ontario.
No, they're going to fly into BC. They're going to fly into Washington, take a cab into BC, and then off a Greyhound. No, there is no Greyhound. They're going to take the train. Are they going to get a private compartment? No, that's expensive.
The premier said it was simply because they overbooked expecting more vaccine.
I don't blame them for overbooking 10,000 appointments. I don't blame York for doing that as well. We were expecting the shipments to come in.
Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca.
And I am frankly fed up listening to Doug Ford offer up the excuses that he keeps offering up. This is not a Doug Ford pity party. This is 15 million people in this province who need real leadership, and they're not getting it from Doug Ford.
I'm Richard Southern.
680 News Time, 10:07. Breaking news from Toronto police who say a man has been rushed to hospital after a shooting in North York. It happened just before 9 o'clock tonight at Jane and Shepherd. When emergency crews arrived, they found the man suffering from a serious gunshot wound to his upper body. Constable Laura Brayman tells 680 News investigators are looking to speak with anyone who was in the area at the time.
Liberal MP William Amos has issued an apology after being caught on camera in his birthday suit during today's virtual House of Commons session.
Amos, who has represented the Quebec riding of Pontiac since 2015, appeared on the screens of his fellow members of Parliament completely naked. In a statement sent by email after the incident, Amos said his video was accidentally turned on when he was changing from his jogging clothes into his work clothes. He also apologized to his colleagues in the House.
Let me show you something. I'm going to show you something silly.
Distraction.
It's an index card, right? What is this? This is from the laptop days. I would throw this over.
To wear a jacket and tie, as well as a shirt, underwear, and trousers. Rob Westgate.
Wait. How do you know he's wearing underwear or not? Because he's got a bag. He's got his pants bagging and sagging because you're allowed to. So this is just sitting right here.
Organizers think.
Oh yeah. Would you remember SARS stock? It's the same damn virus. Downsview Park, SARS stock. I don't remember if that was the proper name. That was to recover from SARS. Now we have SARS too because we're sicker than SARS. So this is just something I have laying around here because why throw it out? It's just used to. I had another one before that I lost. That's how simple it is. You throw that on top of the fucking top edge of the monitor. That's why some people stick with these USB plug-in things because I can just physically unplug them.
Together on the ones and your gas price update in 30 seconds.
Coronavirus update.
Major routes and general conditions on the ones and twos. Oh, this would be. Damn it. There we go. That's why I got 3 of these. I had 4. I overheated one because I'm stupid. Can't outsmart stupid. I can heat the whole house with that toaster oven on broil, but I should have moved the phone first. All the damage was the charge circuit. Everything else works. And the batteries come in replacement packs at 3. Thanks. That's just telling. That's telling you they know. That's the same color as Tupac's phone.
Welcome to Environment Canada's Weather Service. For the City of Toronto, for the forecast. The Environment Canada forecast issued at 3:30 p.m. Wednesday, April 14th for tonight, Thursday, and Thursday night. City of Toronto, for tonight, increasing cloudiness, 60% chance of showers late this evening and overnight. Wind south 20 kilometers per hour, becoming west 20 early this evening. Low +4. For Thursday, cloudy with 60% chance of showers. Risk of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. Wind becoming west 20 kilometers per hour in the afternoon. High 8, UV index 3 or moderate. For Thursday night, cloudy with 60% chance of showers. Wind west 20 kilometers per hour. Low +3. Extended forecast, Friday, showers. High 9. For Friday night, cloudy periods with 30% chance of showers. Low +4. For Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud. High 13. For
the forecast for the next 7 days, press 1.
Weather conditions at 9 p.m. Toronto, Pearson International Airport, mostly cloudy, temperature 11, relative humidity 52%, wind west-southwest 17 kilometers per hour, barometric pressure 101.3 kilopascals, and falling. Toronto, downtown, temperature 13, relative humidity 40%, barometric pressure 101.2 kilopascals, and falling. Toronto City Centre Airport, cloudy, temperature 13, relative humidity 44%, wind west 11 kilometers per hour, barometric pressure 101.2 kilopascals.
For the forecast for the next 7 days, press 1. For the hourly observations, press 2. For air quality health information, press 3.
Updated air quality health index forecast for Toronto, Toronto, downtown, Toronto, north, Toronto, east, Toronto, west. For tonight, maximum air quality health index 3 or low risk. For Thursday, maximum air quality health index 3 or low risk.
For the forecast.
That's it. That's all they'll tell you.
Press 1. For the hourly
And when they told us already that when they give us the information for Toronto, that forecast for Toronto, they exclude Toronto's actual information from that calculation because it skews the numbers. They told us that. They give Toronto's prediction based on everywhere around Toronto, but not Toronto's census.
Gas and vapor.
Platoon Chief John DeLoisio says the chemical composition of the vapor is still unknown. It was emanating from a plant down here at the end of
Cascading
Gale
failures,
Road.
unforeseen consequences. The art of war, the best war is the one you don't have to fight.
Emergency forced the evacuation of about 100 nearby workers. This man works right next door to the scene.
And I talked to an officer, and he said not going because he stops it. The good thing is that we're alive, and we just gotta stay safe, right?
Near Shepherd and the 400, I'm Mark Douglas.
680 News Time, 1014. Still
The people that work next door don't know anything about what that company does.
And sports with
They're just there hoping everything's okay.
Your employment rights with Lior Sampiru from employmentlawyer.ca.
How do you feel about it?
I'm pissed,
Do you
Chuck.
think all these things we're talking about, opportunity, freedom, our way of life, safety, is a much bigger deal than politics? Once again, you do not have to agree with the host. That's the number one rule around here.
Oh, damn.
I'm just throwing out my opinion to inspire you, hopefully, to offer me yours. Number one, how proud are you that we're number one on this list? And is this stuff of Canadian life that these people around the world are respecting us for, is this more important than politics? 1-877-399-9898, toll free. Text or call 1-877-399-9898. That's Canadian common sense in the greatest country on earth. This is Charles Adler tonight.
Don't miss your daily fix of Canadian common sense. Subscribe to the Charles Adler Tonight podcast for free on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
So you could have just said, look for our podcast.
Pushing to get as many people possible vaccinated as they can in Toronto, even while they sees a shortage in supplies. Public Health has compiled a list of more than 1,200 locations for pop-up and mobile clinics and hotspots for when supplies are replenished. The benefits of the AstraZeneca shot outweigh any link to extremely rare blood clots. That's according to Health Canada. Its approval of the shot will not be changing. It says the risk of getting a blood clot from the vaccine is 4 in 1 million. And Liberal MP William Amos is apologizing after being caught on camera naked today during a virtual House of Commons session. Amos says his video was accidentally turned on while changing from his jogging clothes into his work clothes.
The Canadian Forces member would ever make that mistake?
Now, 684.
149,974 that we've countered since we decided to buy a hotel.
Together, we'll find a way.
How much money I can make off a hotel?
Time to panic.
Our opening is imminent.
What could possibly go wrong? Island of Brian.
Of course, the government bought all the hotels.
On HGTV. Also available on Stack TV.
Thanks for calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK. This is Sarah. How can I help?
First I pointed, then the junk disappeared. The sparkle sound came a little bit late, so I said, you should probably make that sparkle sound a little bit quicker. And then Charlotte materialized out of thin air and said,
Never hesitate to trade your cow for a handful of magic beans.
I love 1-800-GOT-JUNK. When you want junk to disappear,
all you have to do is point.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK
or visit us at 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
When you call a Dell Technologies advisor, you get to talk to a real person who can provide tailored solutions that don't fit every small business, they fit yours. That's what it means to really listen. For solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor at 310 Dell.
At Global News, we go beyond the headlines and the hashtags.
In this city, there's such a divide.
People are angry. The middle class has been eviscerated. We fight for you.
How come you're still taking money from people and not doing the work?
And make your story our story.
So how is the community dealing with this flooding? We all come out and we help out piling sandbags on the shore.
Global News believes in a greater Toronto. Weeknights at 5:30 with Alan Carter and Farah Nasser.
I want to thank Global News for being there for us.
While the road to a successful and happy retirement may seem confusing, a little help can make the journey a lot smoother. Just ask Kelvin the Money Guy for some advice. He can take the confusion out of investment so that RRSPs, TFSAs, the stock market, mutual funds, and pension plans are working for you. Go to AskKelvin.ca because a little advice today can mean a successful tomorrow. That's AskKelvin.ca. AskKelvin.ca.
Doug Ford says schools are safe, but it's not true. 1 in 4 Ontario schools have active COVID-19 cases. Ford didn't do what experts told him to do to keep kids safe. Now the virus is out of control and we're facing school closures again. Half measures don't work. It's time to make vaccines available to all educators and frontline workers. Schools won't be safe until transmission is under control. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario.
Now, those same people were going on and on and on about how it's not the schools spreading it to kids, it's not them spreading it to kids. Then it turned into, it's so dangerous for us. It's so dangerous for us. But you want to be co-parents of these kids.
Feeding for up to 7 and standard intelligent 4-wheel drive. It's travel redefined. Right now, get 0.99% purchase financing for up to 72 months on most new 2021 Explorer models. For details, contact your Toronto area Ford dealer or visit Ford.ca.
This is Charles Adler Tonight.
I know the tune.
Top 10 countries in the world. Canada is #1, put together by influential people all over the world. And I'm asking how you feel about that and whether the fact that we're #1 is based on our freedom, based on our opportunity, based on safety, based on quality of life, essentially. Ask you whether that's more important to you than politics. 1-877-399-9898. Yvonne is first up at the National Kitchen Table from London, Ontario. Yvonne, welcome to the program.
Hi, Charles. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I am extremely proud to be a Canadian, and politics don't, to me, isn't the most important at all.
Oh, that's a problem.
Let me ask you a question about the second part of your comment. Do you think for people who make politics really, really important, do you think it gives them a dimmer view of their country?
Yes. Most definitely. I mean, if you look at what's going on today and what's like with all the vaccines and the politics around that and all of that, it's depressing. But we do live in the best country in the world.
It is depressing.
Yeah, but everybody says that about their country.
Might get ticked off by this because we got a lot of people who love talking.
Vote today at cablemonkey.org.
6 News Time, 10:21.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Craig here.
This report is brought to you by Thornhill Toyota. So they're in the center lane on the westbound 401 through Islington in the Express. That's been cleared away, so no issues there. The rest is construction, and there's not too much of it, probably due to the threat of weather or something, but it's very light. Eastbound 401, east of the 403 in the Express, you have 3 right lanes shut down. That's the biggest construction project on the east 401. East 407 ramp to the north 427, that's been closed off. That's a closed ramp. Seth Markham Road ramp to the west 401's been shut down through this construction stretch, and the westbound 401 ramp to McCowan is closed, along with the northbound McCowan ramp to the westbound 401. Westbound 407 ramp to the north 427, that's shut down as well too. Those are your ramp closures and major construction projects. They're also on the South 400 through Aurora Road, down to a single lane, but it's not causing any delays.
Unfortunately, calendar has
Toyota
stopped.
has a rich history, and so does Toyota Red Tag Days on now, with lease or finance rates as low as 0% on select models. Thornhill Toyota, Dufferin north of Steeles. Next report at 10:31 with the forecast. Here's Denise Andriacci.
Scattered showers expected tonight for the GTA and through the day Thursday and Friday. We are expecting a bit of wet weather, not a ton of rain accumulating here. But if you're heading east of the GTA, that's where we're seeing some heavier rainfall, especially for Thursday. For us, it looks like maybe 1 to 3, maybe up to 4 millimeters of rain through Thursday and Friday. So not a ton. Really, it's about the cooler air that's settling in. Daytime highs for Thursday only near 8. Friday, 9-10 degrees for daytime highs, and the average high this time of year is closer to 12. Your overnight low tonight, near 5.
Right now in downtown Toronto, it is 13 degrees, partly cloudy, overcast at Pearson, and 11.
Remember, 680 News is the only radio station with a weather guarantee. Today's jackpot stands at $8,300. 680 News time, 10:23.
I miss him so much every day. High River is up next in Alberta. This is Steve. You're on Charles Answer tonight.
High River Gun Grab, RCMP.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly, but I think we've got one of the worst governments that's going to be driving this country into the ground here eventually, but it's pretty sad that way, that's for sure.
So you're one of the folks in this country who writes me and tells me that the country's going off the cliff and I should wake up.
Well, I don't know. We'll see where we are in 10 years with this Liberal government, but I don't know. I think we're in for a rude awakening down the road.
4 years.
See, I'm not here to support the government or the opposition or anyone else. I'm just here to support the conversation, the national conversation. But call me back in 10 years. And at that point, you can either tell me to eat crow or you can eat something. But I'll bet you right now, in 10 years from now, Canada will still be around. And it'll still be a prosperous country and a free country, the kind of country that makes
you just cursed
the top 10 list. That's what I think. We'll agree to disagree now, but like I said, I'd love to hear from you 10 years from now. There is a...
I was 29 when I moved in here. I'm 38. I'll be this close to 50 when this ends. 10 years from now. He just cursed us.
When some people are feeling down...
I said this is going to be big when I first heard about this COVID thing in December, not March.
When people are feeling bummed out, there are political operators who move in.
Whoa, what?
In my humble opinion. And they tell people that all the problems that we have are the fault of a particular political party or the fault of a particular government.
Oh, it's working.
And it's very easy to fall for that. It's very, very easy to fall for the idea that one person or one group, somewhere, in this case in Ottawa, controls everything that is going on in this country.
Well,
and therefore, if you're not happy with your particular lot in life, or you're not happy by what you look at, and what you look at every day, every night, it's because of this.
You are ahead by
Some buses to help with ventilation and maintains those who can work from home should be doing so.
Ventilation.
Oh no, there's water everywhere.
Dad, a pipe broke. My poor carpet.
We need a plumber.
I was waiting all day to hear something useful. What did they just tell us to do?
And Roto-Rooter does water cleanup.
As soon as I find the phone and all this water, I'm calling a bunch of people.
I told you, Roto-Rooter.
So they already told us droplets travel 30 meters. This shit's airborne. The mutations don't get killed off by the vaccine. In fact, you're 8 times more likely to have the variant if you've been vaccinated, according to that study. And the key is ventilation. And doing this all day long on your mask, not a good idea.
More of the family.
With or without the mask.
David Jones here from Hire the Gardener. The last thing you need right now is a list of chores.
Nobody's hiring
Just
the
hire
gardener,
the gardener. We do it, you enjoy it. Call us once and we'll keep your yard looking Zoom call picture perfect all season. Go to hirethegardener.com. That's hirethegardener.com.
At the 680 News Business Report, here's Richard Southern.
Good evening. Coinbase went public in a big-time splashy IPO on the NASDAQ. This is a company that was founded in 2012, and it's basically an app that lets you trade cryptocurrencies, and it is the biggest such app in the world. This was a direct listing, as they call it, not a traditional IPO on the NASDAQ. So we
it's just I'll listen to his voice out of my ass before.
Well, in that the stock closed 14% below its opening price. Coinbase settling at $328.28 US. Still, that gives the company a market cap of $95 billion, making it one of the largest publicly listed companies in the United States. Greg Taylor is with Trippz Investments.
Well, Coinbase is going to be a way to get exposure through the arms dealer approach. People talk about that for different industries where you don't want to have direct exposure to the underlying. You want to buy something that's selling that they can sell most to it, so you'll get exposure depending on no matter who wins. And this is a good way to play the crypto trend, and they will just trade off of volume. And as long as volume in cryptos keeps going higher, whether it's through price or trading activity, Coinbase's business will do better.
The price of cryptocurrencies was a bit mixed today, with Bitcoin hovering around 62,230, a little bit lower. Ethereum higher, though, 2,341. These are U.S. prices. TSX was lower today, down 32 points, 19,171. On Wall Street, bit of a mixed picture. The Dow was higher, up 53 points to 33,730, though the S&P fell for a record high, down 16 points. The NASDAQ was down 138. GameStop came back to life a bit today, up more than 18% to 166 U.S. dollars a share. And the loonie at 79.81 cents U.S. This is 680 News.
I've got a craving for some McDonald's fries.
To make vaccine
craving like it's addictive, huh?
Line workers. Schools won't be safe until transmission is under control. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario.
When the sun is rising and the birds are chirping, there's no better way to start the day than a good old freshly milked.
Data at no extra cost.
Now I guess it's time to close the squeaking door until next week, when Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup bring you another Inner Sanctum Mystery directed by Hyman Brown. So until then, good night. Pleasant dreams.
And don't forget to tune in again next Tuesday night to Inner Sanctum.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
many are shutting down because of a lack of supply.
Toronto's top doctor says don't believe everything you read online as unqualified.
Rosenfield at Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children says there's a sharp increase in intentional ingestion-related emergency room visits for teens. Those are sometimes indicative of suicide attempts. He adds that boredom and experimentation are other reasons teens may intentionally ingest dangerous substances. Dr. Saba Merchant of Vaughan, Ontario says she's noticed skyrocketing cases of anxiety, depression, and obsessions. Roger Ward, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
Yeah, you know why? Because none of these addressing the fact you're all displaying the exact same thing. Vaccines, vaccines. Keep those people away from it. You're all showing the same obsession. The same bullshit.
680 News Time.
But the thing is, you're not supposed to be doing that. The kid's brain is, because you're not fucking doing anything to teach them what's happening.
Here at Waxman and Associates. So just hearing from the MTO, it looks like they're planning to close the northbound 427 for construction at the 409. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. I'll have to give them a call and confirm if maybe this was just a mistake. But northbound 427 might be closing down around the 409 for overnight construction. Eastbound 401 east of the 403 and the Express, 3 right lanes have been shut down for maintenance. East 407 ramp to the north 427, that's closed. South Markham Road ramp to the west 401's blocked, as well as the west 401 ramp to McCowan, and the northbound McCowan ramp to the westbound 401 shut down for the overnight. West 407 ramp to the north 427, that's also shut down. No delays anywhere. It's a decent drive. If your disability claim has been denied for any reason, call Aaron Waxman at 416-661-4878 or on your cell phone at pound LTD. Next report at 10:41 with the forecast. Here's Denise Andriacci.
It was a sunny day across the GTA. We hit our guaranteed high of 15, which is above seasonal for this time of year, but showers are moving in tonight, and we are looking at some unsettled wet weather and cooler conditions for Thursday and Friday. Your overnight low tonight, near 5.
In Toronto, it's 12 degrees and overcast at Toronto. Pearson, it's 11 degrees and a cloudy. 680 News Time, 10:32.
Vaccine supply issues are to blame for more clinics in Toronto shutting down.
But the city is making plans for when things pick up again with 1,200 new
So I don't know if you noticed, that last one you said Toronto, but the first girl said Toronto, Toronto, T-O-R-O-N-N-O. Everything's fine, everything's fine. Watch when they start enunciating government.
And we do know that many of our hospital partners who use Moderna in their clinics didn't receive a shipment this week. The shortage of Moderna is very frustrating.
Toronto Fire Chief Matthew Pegg, who is leading the city's emergency response to COVID-19, says at present, city-operated clinics administer the Pfizer vaccine.
The most recent shipment of Pfizer vaccine was received on April 12th. That vaccine shipment contained the amount of vaccine required to operate our city-operated clinics for the next 7 days.
The next shipment of Pfizer is scheduled to arrive Monday afternoon, and Pegg says there's no indication there's any issues with it. Public Health has compiled a list of over 1,200 locations for pop-up and mobile clinics in hotspots, and work is already underway for close to 240 locations on the list subject to vaccine supply. I'm Phil Martino.
The Premier also facing questions about canceled vaccine appointments. 680's Richard Southern has the latest.
Hotspot regions like Scarborough have been forced to cancel a lot of vaccine appointments.
Promise me you will not see me poke, my pretty girl. Please give me just one kiss, one sweet kiss you won't miss. For your kiss brings such bliss to my lonely heart.
Try singing that to a girl walking by in the street. See if you don't get either shot or arrested.
Since the end of February, we haven't taken travel restrictions off the board, quite frankly, says the BC Premier. But these variants, and I will, as I say, get to the religious liberty topic in a second. The variants of concern spread more rapidly. This is the stuff coming out of Brazil. It spreads more rapidly and can cause a more severe case of COVID-19, in particular the P1 variant, first associated with Brazil.
What about the double mutant thing in California?
Who've already had the virus. And current treatments and vaccines may not work as well on cases of the variant. That's according to British Columbia's Center for Disease Control.
That's P1. What
So
about
this headline
1351? You knew that 4 months ago like we
right
did.
now. Ottawa drops.
Remember, I told you I had something. I told you I had some type of mutation.
From Brazil.
It was another week, 2 weeks before they came out and admitted there were mutations.
As I promised I would. And Pete and Cochrane, just a quick shout out to you, Pete and Cochrane, Alberta, who says, Charles, excellent conversation. I've had the opportunity to work on every continent on our planet, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Your dashboard, Canada.ca and 680news.com also have extensive COVID-19 vaccination information. I'm Madison Fitzpatrick.
Health Canada not changing its approval of the AstraZeneca vaccine as it confirms the shot may be linked to extremely rare blood clots, saying it's still safe.
The AstraZeneca vaccine continues to be safe. That's Dr. Supriya Sharma with Health Canada as the regulator provides a safety update on the AstraZeneca vaccine. It's now acknowledging there may be a link to extremely rare blood clots, and it's updating the warning label, but officials stress the benefits far outweigh the risks. Dr. Sharma says the chances of getting a clot from this vaccine are 4 in a million, while the chances of getting a clot while being hospitalized with COVID-19 are 1 in...
That's a strange way to frame it, because they should be saying 1 in 250,000. Then the other person said it was 1 in a million. They said 4 in a million, and we heard 1 in 40,000 from Austria or Germany or whatever.
Immunization may also update its guidance after advising provinces not to give the vaccine to anyone under 55. Canada has one reported case of a woman in Quebec developing a blood clot after receiving the AstraZeneca shot. She's recovering at home. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
A Liberal MP was caught naked in the virtual House of Commons today. William Ames, who represents the Quebec riding of Pontiac, appeared on the screen of his fellow members of Parliament in his birthday suit. A screenshot shows him standing between the Quebec and Canadian flags, his private parts hidden in what appears to be his office. The party web raised the incident in a point of order after question period, suggesting that parliamentary decorum requires male MPs to wear a jacket and tie and a shirt, underwear, and trousers. Amos has issued an apology, calling it an unfortunate error, saying his video was accidentally turned on as he changed into work clothes following a jog.
Thick yellow smoke billowing over the Shepparton Highway 400 area today resulted in traffic delays and impacted businesses in the area.
Clouds of yellow-brown vapor went drifting across the Shepparton 400 area, forcing a temporary closure of that part of the highway and the evacuation of 100 workers nearby.
They said it's blocked. I said, why? Because it's toxic. It's very dangerous for you if you breathe it, right?
It happened around 11 a.m. at a plant here at the end of Gale Grove. Toronto Fire Platoon Chief John Deloisio says chemicals were being mixed when something happened and a third chemical gas was produced.
They had something that I was led to believe was unexpected, but that's all I can tell you.
Deloisio says the chemical composition of the vapor is still unknown. He says this was a level 3 hazmat emergency.
For Toronto Fire, that would be our top level of a hazardous materials incident.
There were no injuries, no comment so far from the Nutriag plant. An investigation is now underway, led by the Ministry of the Environment near Shepparton.
The 400. I'm
Mark Douglas.
680 News Time, 10:39. We're following breaking news from the Jane and Shepherd area of North York, where a shooting has left a 17-year-old boy in hospital with serious injuries. Duty Inspector Michael Williams provided an update from the scene moments ago. He says officers were called to the scene around 9 o'clock tonight, where they found the victim suffering from a gunshot wound.
The 17-year-old male is apparently in stable condition, but obviously his injuries are serious as they were received in his torso area.
Williams says the shooting took place inside an apartment unit in the area, and that is believed at least 5 people inside the residence at the time of shooting included the victim. He also says 2 males in dark clothing, possibly in their teens or early 20s, fled the building out onto Shepherd Avenue after the shooting. Police are trying to piece together which direction those suspects were headed, and they're urging anyone with information to come forward. Stay with 680 News for the latest on this developing story.
Your gas price update is next.
About a kilometer from here, there's a gelatin factory, and they had a delivery that somehow they were able to hook the pipe up to the wrong tank. The truck started pumping one type of acid into another, and they released some toxic cloud into the neighborhood here. But I wasn't here that day. I was somewhere else.
Garage doors. DODDS. No one does it better than
I forget what two types of acid it was, but it was in
Now,
the
this
news.
is City's gas price update, and for predicts the price will not change at midnight. It will hold at $1.22.9 a liter. This is 680 News.
Your locally owned and operated Meineke Car Care Center is here to keep your car road ready. From tires and brakes to exhaust and engine repair, Meineke is your one-stop shop for total car care. For a limited time, get a basic oil change starting at $29.95 or a seasonal tire changeover starting at $49.95. Plus, you can buy now and pay later with our financing options. Book your appointment at Meineke.ca. Terms and conditions apply. Engine, brakes, tires, oil. Meineke, doing car care right.
I was mocked in the classroom.
Attacked on the bus.
Pushed down on the sidewalk.
We are
your neighbors.
Fathers and sons.
Mothers, daughters. Girl Scouts and Little Leaguers.
We are
the so-called quiet, docile ones.
We live in fear, but hide behind soft smiles.
We are being targeted, attacked, killed.
We are
the Asian community.
And we are hurting.
Stand with us.
Follow #StopAsianHate today.
Anti-Asian hate. They keep leaving
And weather together on one, so let's check in with Craig Gear.
This report is brought to you by Seneca College on the northbound DVP, north of Eglinton. 2 right lanes are blocked here with a vehicle fire. So just heads up if you're on the northbound DVP. Around Winford there, just north of Eglinton. 2 right lanes
hoping the fire
blocked
truck shows up, aren't you?
getting by, so just heads up. 2 right lanes for now. We'll just wait and see. The rest is construction, and it's a good drive. We're not seeing too many problems. Eastbound 401, they've set up shop in the 3 right lanes east of the 403 and the Express. Eastbound 407, the ramp to the north 427's been shut down. Some ramp closures on the westbound side now. South Markham ramp to the highway is closed. Westbound 401 ramp to McCowan's blocked. North McCowan ramp to the west 401's also shut down. Westbound 407 ramp on the north 427, that's coming in as closed. And northbound 427 itself, they are planning to close it at the 409. So from the 409 up to Highway 7, north 427 will be closed. You'll have to get onto the 409. At Seneca's virtual open house, connect with program experts, attend interactive sessions, and take virtual campus tours. Visit senecacollege.ca on April 17th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Next report, 10:51 with the forecast. Here's Denise Andriacci.
After a sunny and above seasonal day, the clouds build and we see some scattered wet weather tonight. Thursday, Friday, also the chance of showers with cooler temperatures. Daytime highs for both days will be below seasonal in the upper single digits, and we're getting noticeably cooler for overnight lows over the next few days. Just a cooler weather pattern setting in here to the GTA. Your overnight low tonight near 5.
In downtown Toronto, it is 12 degrees and overcast. At Toronto Pearson, it's 11 degrees and cloudy. 680 News Time, 10:43.
The city's safe supply programs being expanded in an attempt to address the overdose crisis.
Just in February alone, there were 411 overdose calls in Toronto, according to Mayor Tory. 26 of them fatal.
These numbers are completely unacceptable. I don't think we would, in fact, I know we would not accept that anywhere. That kind of preventable loss of life, and there's no denying that these are preventable
The
deaths.
federal government investing $7.7 million in programs in Toronto to deal with the opioid crisis. Health Minister Patty Hajdu says $2.3 million of that will go to the Works supervised consumption site.
Providing injectable medication for people who use substances. And this is the first project of its kind in Ontario.
Toronto's top doctor, Eileen Davila, says it will prevent death.
All taken together.
It'll stop the spread of
program will start
disease.
with 35 people. I'm Omen Qureshi.
This is 680 News.
Subway restaurant.
Reduce the spread of disease. So 7 million. Wow, that's a lot considering we put out $10 billion net to the feds every year in GST. Hey, it's 2:45 o'clock.
Anecdotally, we hear things that the parking lots are as full as they've ever been. But are those people who are going to stick around? And are there people in that church who maybe feel like, hey, I want my faith community back and my...
Amazing things with just one casino.
Gosh, I've never been so late to work. Mr. Willoughby's going to be furious. Oh, well, I guess I may as well go in and face him. I better put the glasses
You hear that
back
little
on.
slip?
At least he can't hit me if I'm wearing them.
But it would have cost some money to re-record it.
Dennis, my boy, my dear, dear boy. Son.
Gee, they even work on him.
Ready for this? Today's the day.
It's all new heart-stopping 911.
Vous savez, je termine. Le décideur, c'est un jongleur. Hein? Il y a plein de balles dans les airs. Puis il n'a pas le droit d'en échapper. Alors, mais des fois, il en échappe. Alors, laquelle il prend et comment il jongle avec tous ces enjeux et toutes ces décisions, c'est infiniment complexe.
Oui, et quelle balle on lui pardonnera ou pas d'avoir échappé dedans.
Et voilà. Et là, le temps devient un facteur important.
Avant de se quitter toutes les deux, mais je vous amène un petit peu sur un autre, juste à côté, une petite branche. Là. Moi, je suis tellement frappée quand j'entends parler des ministres au je, moi, je. Et là, je dis, ben là, il y a un ministère derrière, il y a une équipe. Est-ce que ça vous frappe aussi, comme une façon, il y a Mélanie Joly qui fait ça, entre autres. Il y en a beaucoup, là.
Il y a Valérie Plante.
Oui, exactement. Oui,
ça me heurte.
C'est comme ça. Me heurte.
Maintenant plus rien ne nous sépare. Je suis amoureux de la dame en bleu. Toi, ma belle inconnue, tu m'attires et tu me sors. Tu m'as rendu amoureux.